Chapter 239. Guang. Yin Chuan said indifferently. Present. The First Legion will lead the way. Anyone who dares to block the way will be killed. Yin Chuan shouted. Yes. Anyone who dared to block the road would be killed. Feng Xiao's face twitched. Square formation. Guang shouted. Roar. The army of 3,000 immediately formed a military formation, protecting Yin Chuan in the center as the army marched forward. Boom. 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 Their neat footsteps revealed the ferocity of the battlefield. Stop right there. Feng Xiao shouted. Guang's eyes widened as he shouted, Target, 100 feet ahead. Kakakaka. At the front of the phalanx, 600 shooting sun arrows were loaded. Their target was Feng Xiao's group. The faces of the Day sect disciples suddenly changed. Xing! 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 They quickly pulled out their swords and magic treasures and stared at the group of cultivators before them in shock. Mortal? Had these mortals gone mad? How dare you attack us? Courting death. Humph, what an idiot. Everyone's expression was unsightly. Release. Guang ordered. Bam! 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 The 600 shooting sun arrows immediately turned into 600 streams of light and shot towards the 200 Day sect disciples. Ah! Bastard! Everyone's expression changed. Boom! Some people quickly jumped away, while others used their magic treasures to block the incoming swords. Boom! The small hill where Feng Xiao was originally located was completely destroyed by the 600 shooting sun arrows. Out of the 200 elite realms, 4 or 5 of them were grazed by the shooting sun arrows. None of them had expected that this group of mortals would dare to attack them in their own territory. You're courting death. A Xiuzha quickly raised a large blade and charged towards the army from the side. Release. Boom. 10 of the embroidered uniform soldiers stared at the Xiuzha and quickly released 5 shooting sun arrows. Boom. The Xiuzha was knocked away by the power of the shooting sun arrow. But it was not over yet. There were 10 people staring at him, but only 5 arrows were shot. The other 5 had not shot before and only released them now. Boom. 5 streaks of flowing light shot over. The Xiuzha had used up all his strength, and before he could form a new one, he instantly showed a terrified expression. Dang dang dang. 3 Xiuzha quickly rushed over to help him block the 5 fatal streaks of light. Crack. Crack. However, with the participation of these 3 people, the embroidered army spontaneously aimed another 30 sun shooting bows at them. Bam! 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 Under the suppression of the rain of arrows, the group of Xiuzha immediately became disheveled. When the battle started, almost all of the 200 Xiuzha charged forward. No one expected Yin Chuan to make a move, and even more so, they didn't expect him to make a move so quickly. Moreover, this group of mortals actually had a cultivator's magical treasure, and could suppress a dignified expert like himself? Bam! 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 The army was well trained. In the blink of an eye, they divided up the work. One squad leader kept an eye on one Xiuzha, and the 200 Xiuzha were suppressed in the blink of an eye. The group of Xiuzha fled in all directions. However, before the shooting sun arrows, they could not hide. They jumped up and down, as if they were sent flying by a group of mortals. Amidst the billowing dust, the cries of Xiuzha and the figures sent flying could be heard everywhere. The scene was very disharmonious. Inside the Day sect, countless pairs of eyes showed confusion. Mortals? These are mortals? Chapter 240. Am I seeing things? Those elite realms of the Black Peak were bullied by a group of mortals? On the Black Peak, Jiangnan grabbed his sword hilt, his eyes gloomy. Eldest senior brother is wise. If we had agreed with Feng Xiao, we would be the ones losing face now. Someone behind him said. Yeah, how did this group of mortals improve their fighting strength so quickly? Yin Chuan. Jiangnan squinted his eyes, his tone extremely heavy. On the square in front of the Great River Hall, sect leader Feng Tairan led a group of people and looked down. Sect leader, as I said earlier, this group of mortals is extremely strong. Last time, the 200 demon snakes were killed by them. Zhu Jiansheng said worriedly. Too arrogant. Yin Chuan is too arrogant. Mo Wuhui said coldly. Feng Tairan shook his head gently and said no. Well done. Ah, Zhu Jiansheng and the rest were confused. Feng Tairan stroked his white beard and smiled. He has Yen Tao's style. But sect leader, I am worried that the disciples are not a match for the genie army. What if? Zhu Jiansheng said worriedly. Yen Chuan did not kill them. Don't worry. Feng Tairan said with a smile. But he said to kill? Zhu Jiansheng still did not understand. He said to kill, but there was a precondition. Anyone who dares to block the path, kill. The precondition was to block Yen Chuan's path. These third-generation disciples attacked from both sides, so the genie army left them a way out. Feng Tairan said with a smile. Ah, Zhu Jiansheng said in surprise. With such a disciple, Yen Tao can smile in the underworld. Feng Tairan suddenly sighed. Sect leader, your evaluation of Yen Chuan is too high. Can he be compared to Yen Tao? Mo Wuhui frowned. Didn't you notice? From the beginning to the end, Yen Chuan's eyelids did not even twitch. Feng Tairan said with a smile. Oh. Everyone looked over again. In the distance, cultivators flew into the air, kicking up dust and smoke from the battlefield. 2,000 embroidered uniform army soldiers suppressed the cultivators. 1,000 embroidered uniform army soldiers protected Yen Chuan as they continued their journey to the Day sect. Yen Chuan sat on the dragon platform. He continued to lazily rest his chin on his hand, allowing the dragon platform to steadily move towards the interior of the Day sect. Huguang led the way. There was only one person standing in Huguang's way. Feng Xiao. Feng Xiao still felt like his head was stuck. How could that be? How could Yen Chuan dare to make a move? How dare he? Feng Xiao said with an ugly expression. Ta-ta. As the army drew closer, Feng Xiao's expression turned increasingly ugly as he listened to the screams of his martial nephews. Martial uncle, save me. Someone cried out. Martial uncle. As the cultivators shouted, Feng Xiao also felt very anxious. He wanted to stop this chaotic battle, but he realized how powerless he was. Yen Chuan, stop. Stop. Feng Xiao roared. Naturally, Yen Chuan would not listen to him. The army ignored him even more. They slowly advanced, getting closer and closer. Martial uncle. The shouts all around made Feng Xiao's immature mind unable to bear it. Capture the ringleader first? Yes, yes. I will control Yen Chuan. This group of mortals will not dare to make a move. Feng Xiao's eyes suddenly lit up. Xing. Feng Xiao swung his sword and charged towards Yen Chuan, who was in the middle of the army. How dare you? Huguang stepped forward. Feng Xiao did not care about Huguang's advance. He was just a mortal. What could a mortal do to him? Great River Chop. Feng Xiao glared. The sword in his hand immediately drew a bright sword beam. Chapter 241. Army Destroyer. Huguang shouted. Boom! Huguang's silver aura suddenly expanded. A violent aura shot out. The ferocious army destroyer willpower directly hit Feng Xiao's willpower. Wang! Feng Xiao seemed to see a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. The illusion of countless corpses suddenly appeared, and Feng Xiao's expression changed. Bang! The two weapons collided. In one exchange, Feng Xiao was sent flying by Huguang. Boom! Feng Xiao crashed into a huge rock. The huge rock shattered. Feng Xiao couldn't get up under this attack. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Puff! Feng Xiao's eyes were filled with disbelief. A mortal? He was beaten up like this by a mortal? This blow was too big. It wasn't just a physical blow. It was more of a mental blow. He was defeated by a mortal? Was he really a good-for-nothing? Feng Xiao, who was mentally hurt, glanced at Yen Chuan, who was on the dragon platform. He happened to see Yen Chuan's gaze. Yen Chuan looked at Feng Xiao and revealed a faint smile. However, in Feng Xiao's eyes, this smile was like a slap to his face. His previous glamour had been beaten to a pulp. When he was young, he was bullied by Yen Chuan. A year ago, he was bullied by Yen Chuan. Now he was bullied by Yen Chuan. Was he really so useless? Feng Xiao burst into tears as he felt wronged. Yen Chuan smiled faintly. He didn't mock or look down on Feng Xiao, he just found it interesting. Although Feng Xiao was a dandy, arrogant and immature, at the very least he wasn't too shrewd. At the very least he lived a very realistic life. Of course it was just a smile. The army continued to advance into the Day sect. Yin Chuan turned his gaze to the main peak again. The fighting around them gradually stopped. More than 200 elite realm warriors were in a sorry state. They were injured and lying on the ground. Looking at the embroidered army gradually entering the Day sect, they all had complicated expressions. After this wave of attacks, there were no more obstacles. Even when they arrived at the mountain gate, there was only a group of onlookers. No one stepped forward to stop them. Tap, tap, tap. The army marched into the interior of the Day sect in an orderly fashion. They followed the main road and headed toward the main peak. More and more disciples gathered around. The embroidered uniform army continued to do as they pleased. Not long after, the army arrived at the foot of the main peak. Stop! Huoguang ordered. At the foot of the main peak, the group of mountain guards revealed confused expressions, not knowing what to do. Yin Chuan sat on the dragon platform and looked up at the mountain peak. Your Majesty, do you want to go up the mountain? Huoguang asked. Yin Chuan coldly looked at the mountain and shook his head. No need. Prepare the troops and wait. Understood. Huoguang replied. The army slowly stood behind the dragon platform. Yin Chuan sat on the dragon platform and waited quietly. On the main peak in front of the Great River Hall, Feng Tianyu's expression was complicated. His son actually lost to the man with the spear in a single exchange? Father. Feng Tianyu said with an ugly expression. Life has to go through stages. After today, Shower will definitely understand. Don't worry. This is for his own good. Don't spoil him too much. Feng Tairan shook his head. Sect Master, Yin Chuan stopped at the foot of the mountain. What should we do now? Gao Bufan asked doubtfully. He is still sitting on the dragon platform. How arrogant. Mo Wuhui said unhappily. Sect Master, why don't I go down and bring Yin Chuan up? Zhu Jianxing asked kindly. He hoped to ease Yin Chuan's awkward attitude. No need. Since he is already here, the few of us will go down to welcome him. Feng Tairan said with a smile. Ah! Zhu Jianxing looked at Feng Tairan in surprise. Go down together? Are we really going to welcome him together? Chapter 242. Yin Chuan sat lazily on the dragon platform, allowing the Day sect disciples to point at him. He continued to stare coldly at the main peak. The surroundings gradually quieted down. Feng Xiao walked into the Day sect with his injuries. Jiangnan also walked down from the Black Peak. The Qi and Essence State disciples of the Day sect gradually surrounded Yin Chuan's army. Their expressions were complicated. Yin Chuan? It was a name that made everyone confused. The son of the previous sect master would return one day, but no one expected him to return so arrogantly. Was he trying to join the Day sect? Everyone was confused. They had never seen such an arrogant disciple. It was as if the Day sect wanted to worship him. While the Day sect disciples were confused, a white cloud slowly descended from the main peak. Is that the sect master? Ah, the three peak masters? Why are they here together? Looks like Yin Chuan is in trouble. Yeah, I wonder how the sect master will teach this kid a lesson. All the disciples of the Great River sect stared at him curiously. Feng Xiao clutched his chest that was injured by Huoguang. His expression was gloomy. Jiangnan squinted his eyes. Feng Tairan led the crowd and slowly descended. Yin Chuan ignored the others. He stared at the white cloud and the crowd on it. When Yin Chuan saw that everyone had landed, the graveness that he had been hiding in his eyes slowly disappeared. Phew! The white cloud dispersed and the crowd landed in front of the embroidered uniform army. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Peak Masters. Greetings, Sect Master. The Day sect disciples greeted respectfully. Yin Chuan waved his hand gently. Lu Ji nodded and quickly ordered the embroidered uniform army to lower the dragon platform. When the dragon platform landed, Yin Chuan stood up gently. With the Jade Emperor sword on his back, he slowly walked forward. The embroidered uniform guards opened up a path for Yin Chuan. The breeze gently blew Yin Chuan's long robe. Yin Chuan's expression gradually turned serious as he walked towards Feng Tairan. Feng Tairan also stared at Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan slowly walked closer before stopping. Feng Tairan, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Audacious. Is the name of the sect master something you can call? Mo Wu Hui glared at him. Yin Chuan, sect master is your father's master. You should call him grandmaster. Gao Bufan said with a smile. Grandmaster? Yin Chuan shook his head and sneered. Yin Chuan's tone was full of sarcasm, so much so that all the Day sect disciples around him could hear it. Everyone glared at Yin Chuan. Do you think I'm not qualified? Feng Tairan frowned. My father, the former sect master of the Day sect, was forced to die in front of everyone. What are you doing, Feng Tairan? What are the people of the Day sect doing? He was the sect master, a sect master. How could you just watch him be forced to die? Do you think you can be my grandmaster? Yin Chuan shook his head. Yin Tao asked for it. Mo Wu Hui shouted. Wu Hui. Feng Tairan interrupted Mo Wu Hui's words. Sect master? Mo Wu Hui frowned. Yin Chuan is right. A sect master was forced to die, and his disciple was forced to die in front of me. I am indeed not qualified to be Yin Tao's master. This is the weakness of the Day sect. Feng Tairan shook his head. Yin Chuan stared at Feng Tairan. He took a deep breath, but his face was inexplicably relaxed. You didn't have to wait for my father's death, but you were responsible for it. Although I wasn't there, I can guess why my father was forced to die in the Day sect and not somewhere else. To be able to force my father to die, and make the entire Day sect helpless, it must be a strong person that the Day sect cannot provoke. My father protected the Day sect with his life. This shows that my father loved the Day sect, and he must have respected you, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Chapter 243. Everyone was silent for a while. My father respects you, and you don't have to break your master-disciple relationship because of me. However, from my point of view, even though you are my father's master, I will not recognize you as my ancestor. You are you and I am me. I came to the Day sect only to inherit what my father left behind, Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Hearing Yin Chuan's words, Feng Tairan's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. If Yin Tao knew in the underworld, he would definitely be pleased with you. Feng Tairan laughed. Everyone was at a loss, unable to understand Feng Tairan's mentality. Yin Chuan scolded you and you actually laughed? So happy. Of course, I came today to inherit Heaven Peak, become the Peak Master of Heaven Peak, and take back my father's things. Yin Chuan laughed. Yin Chuan's laughter also stunned many cultivators. They also couldn't understand Yin Chuan. Just a moment ago he had a deep hatred, but in the blink of an eye he laughed? What did he mean? Only Feng Tairan's eyes flickered as he looked solemnly at Yin Chuan, as if he was looking at a treasure. Are you sure you want to inherit Heaven Peak? Feng Tairan confirmed again. Isn't this what you want? Yin Chuan laughed. Feng Tairan let out a long sigh. At this moment, he was sure that Yin Chuan had accepted the Day sect because of his father's love for the sect. There was no resistance. The inheritance of a sect not only required experts, but also disciples who accepted the sect. Otherwise, once a disaster struck, they would all go their separate ways. Rather than accepting 10 geniuses with uncertain temperament, it was better to accept one mediocre person who was loyal to the sect. At least, the sect could be passed down in any storm. Welcome back. Feng Tairan laughed. Your calmness made me understand that my father's death back then wasn't in vain. Yin Chuan let out a long sigh and laughed. Ha 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 ha. Feng Tairan laughed. But Yin Chuan could hear the bitterness in Feng Tairan's laughter. Many people did not understand the conversation between the two of them. They even felt that it was ridiculous. Feng Xiao and Jiang Nan both opened their mouths in shock. The two of them asked and answered, why did it sound so inexplicable? Take out the Tiansu and name me now, Yin Chuan said indifferently. All right, Feng Tairan replied. Sect Master. Mo Wu Hui immediately called out. Feng Tairan looked at Mo Wu Hui in confusion. Are you really going to let him be the Peak Master of Heaven Peak? What qualifications does he have? Mo Wu Hui cried out. Is it because he is Yin Chuan's son? Mo Wu Hui asked in a low voice. That's not all. Feng Tairan shook his head. Oh, Mo Wu Hui was puzzled. He is qualified to do so. Feng Tairan laughed. What qualifications? Mo Wu Hui still didn't understand. Just like back then, why did I pass the position to Yen Tao? My foresight has never been wrong. Wu Hui, don't object. Feng Tairan laughed. Mo Wu Hui's eyes narrowed. Not only Mo Wu Hui, but Gao Bufan and Feng Tianyu also looked at Yan Chuan in surprise. Yes, Mo Wu Hui nodded. But this scene, in the eyes of the group of second-generation disciples, was so inconceivable. Zhu Jiansheng said that Yan Chuan could be the peak master, but that was only in theory. There had never been a peak master of the essence realm. In the crowd, Jiang Nan's face was ugly, and Feng Xiao's face was complicated. But the sect master and the 3 peak masters had agreed, and there was no way to refute. Feng Tairan stretched out his hand, and a 10-feet-long yellow scroll suddenly appeared in the void. Rumble! The pool of merit in the sky suddenly churned, as if it was responding to the scroll. Chapter 244. On the back of the scroll, there were the words Tiansu. The 2 words were faintly discernible, and upon closer inspection, they seemed to be moving slowly. On the front there were 5 columns of text. Except for the first column, there was a blood-red fingerprint at the end of each column. Day Sect bestowed by the heavens. Sect leader Feng Tairan. Earth Peak Lord Moa. Black Peak Lord Feng Tianyu. Yellow Peak Lord Gao Bufan. This was the Tiansu. The Tiansu floated in the air. Feng Tairan stretched out his hand and waved at the Tiansu. Above the Tiansu, a line of small words suddenly appeared slowly. Heaven Peak Lord Yan Chuan. A line of words appeared. Feng Tairan's forehead broke out in cold sweat, and said with some difficulty, "You do it." Yan Chuan nodded. His finger slightly drew a line, and a trace of essence blood appeared on his fingertip. With his fingertip he pressed below his name. Boom! The pool of merit in the sky exploded. And then, a dazzling yellow light fell from the sky and went straight into Yan Chuan's body. Yan Chuan closed his eyes and suddenly inhaled deeply, as if he was accepting the yellow light. Feng Tairan smiled, waved his hand, and the Tiansu suddenly disappeared, as if it had never been there. It was not until 10 breaths later that Yan Chuan suddenly opened his eyes. How is it? Feng Tairan smiled. Merit into the body, washing away the negative karma. Yan Chuan smiled. Feng Tairan nodded. Yan Chuan stretched out his hand, and a yellow ball of light slowly appeared in his palm. He turned his head to look at the 3,000 embroidered army soldiers. He stretched out his hand. Bang! The yellow light suddenly enlarged like a handful of sand fog, enveloping the 3,000 embroidered army soldiers. The 3,000 embroidered army soldiers suddenly trembled. King, why did my heart palpitate just now? Hu Guang asked in amazement. From now on, through me you are connected to the pool of merit. Yan Chuan smiled. Connected to the pool of merit? Hu Guang was puzzled. That's right. Although you can't wash away most of your negative karma like me, at least you have a much higher chance of success in the sect than in the outside world. Because this pool of merit will protect you. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Yes. Hu Guang didn't understand, but he knew it wasn't the time to ask. Do you need me to guide you to the heavenly peak? Feng Tairan asked. There's no need for that. Zhu Jiansheng can lead the way for me. Once I've settled down, I'll come find you. Yan Chuan shook his head. All right. Feng Tairan nodded. With that, Feng Tairan waved his sleeve, and another white cloud floated up, carrying him and the 3 peak masters up the mountain. Many disciples of the Day sect looked confused, including Zhu Jiansheng, the 6 swordsmen, and the 7 swordsmen. Yan Chuan watched the 4 of them go up the mountain, and said to Hu Guang, Do you understand what I asked you to think about earlier? Hu Guang's expression changed, and he immediately said solemnly, Yes, I understand. Oh, tell me. Yan Chuan looked at Hu Guang. King's high profile was actually to test sect leader Feng Tairan, to see if the Day sect was worth the old emperor's sacrifice. The conversation between King and sect leader Feng Tairan just now was actually a mutual test between King and Feng Tairan. In the end, King approved of the Day sect and stayed. Hu Guang thought and said, That's right. Although the Day sect is a lesser sect, it's still nothing in my eyes. Yan Chuan said indifferently, King, I'm curious. If Feng Tairan didn't satisfy King just now, what would King do? Hu Guang asked curiously. Didn't satisfy me? Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Although Yin Chuan didn't say it out loud, Hu Guang had followed Yin Chuan for so long that he naturally understood the meaning in his eyes. If the Day sect wasn't worth Yin Tao's sacrifice, would King destroy the Day sect? Destroy the Day sect? Hu Guang's heart was in turmoil. Chapter 245. While Yin Chuan and Hu Guang were whispering, Zhu Jiansheng and the rest walked over. Zhu Jiansheng, the 6 swordsmen, and the 7 swordsmen all had strange expressions on their faces. Greetings, Peak Lord of Heavenly Peak. The 3 of them said. Thank you for taking care of me all this time. If you need anything in the future, feel free to look for me. Yin Chuan said with a smile. The 3 of them were slightly stunned. At the same time, Zhu Jiansheng suddenly understood why Yin Chuan did not address him as senior brother. It turned out that he was waiting for this. Junior brother? I will try my best to refine qi into spirit. Zhu Jiansheng said sullenly. I'll be waiting. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Let's go. I'll bring you to Heavenly Peak. Although no one has lived here for 7 years, it is still cleaned frequently. Zhu Jiansheng led the way. Wait! Suddenly a shout came from the crowd. Everyone turned their heads to look. A black-robed man slowly walked out from the crowd. It was the 3rd-generation senior brother Jiang Nan. Jiang Nan held the hilt of his sword and frowned. He looked at Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. The humiliation of the past was still vivid in his mind. Sprout? He said he was a sprout? After returning to the sect, he cultivated day and night just to wash away the humiliation of the past. Finally, he reached the complete realm of essence and Yin Chuan came to the sect. However, in the blink of an eye, Yin Chuan became a 1st-generation disciple. How could he take revenge? The moment Feng Tairan agreed, Jiang Nan almost roared. Jiang Nan? What do you want? Zhu Jiansheng said with a frown. Jiang Nan was a genius. Zhu Jiansheng also knew that he would become his junior brother soon. Zhu Jiansheng did not put on airs. I, Jiang Nan, as the 3rd-generation senior disciple, challenge the Peak Lord of Heavenly Peak. Please enlighten me. Jiang Nan said solemnly. Hua! Jiang Nan's words caused an uproar. Challenge? Eldest senior brother wants to challenge Yin Chuan? Did I hear it wrong? Eldest senior brother is in the perfection of the essence state. Challenge Yin Chuan? Isn't this obvious bullying? But eldest senior brother is only a 3rd-generation disciple. Challenging a 1st-generation disciple is against the rules. Who wants Yin Chuan to be so arrogant? Eldest senior brother wants to suppress his arrogance. The challenge is right. Everyone was talking about it. Jiang Nan, pay attention to your status. You are at the peak of the essence realm, and Peak Master Tian has just joined the sect. Zhu Jiansheng said in a deep voice. That's right. Your cultivation base is much higher compared to Peak Master Tian. Is this a challenge? Asked the 6 swordsmen with a frown. No, strength is not something that can be measured by cultivation base. A year ago, Jiang Nan was defeated by Peak Lord Tian. Martial uncle can testify. Today, Jiang Nan only wishes to verify the results of a year's worth of cultivation. I beg Peak Lord Tian to grant me my wish. Jiang Nan was unyielding. A year ago, eldest senior brother lost to Yin Chuan? No way. The surrounding Day sect disciples were all in disbelief. Among the 3rd-generation disciples, Jiang Nan was the strongest. Although Yin Chuan was a 1st-generation disciple, he had just joined the sect. How could he defeat Jiang Nan? I beg Peak Master Tian to grant my wish. Jiang Nan said again. Zhu Jiansheng looked at Yin Chuan awkwardly. Yin Chuan smiled and said, I don't like this kind of competition. Some people around immediately looked at him with disdain. They thought that Yin Chuan was afraid. If you don't like to fight, then what is the sword on your back for? Jiang Nan was unyielding. Chapter 246. My Jade Emperor sword doesn't fight. It only kills. Doesn't fight, only kills? Everyone's face twitched. The Heavenly Peak Master was indeed arrogant. Jiang Nan was also depressed and was about to speak again. You are close to the 2nd stage of the Heavenly Tribulation. Consolidate it properly. Don't cause trouble everywhere before transcending the tribulation, and leave behind hidden dangers. You only have one life, cherish it. Yan Chuan shook his head and said lightly, "Oh me? 'Cause trouble everywhere?" Jiang Nan was furious. "Oh, by the way, my heavenly peak master will also undergo the tribulation tomorrow. It might cause a big commotion. Your tribulation will come again slowly," Yan Chuan said indifferently. As he spoke, Yan Chuan no longer paid any attention to Jiang Nan, and he looked at Zhu Jiansheng and said, "Let's go." Zhu Jiansheng smiled bitterly and nodded. He led Yan Chuan's army and left. "Why? Do I have to ask you for permission to undergo the tribulation?" Jiang Nan said sullenly. A few of Jiang Nan's followers surrounded Yan Chuan and scolded him for a while. Feng Xiao, who was not far away, had a complicated expression as he watched the army leave. He frowned and looked at Jiang Nan, who was not far away. "Martial Uncle Feng Xiao, what should we do? Are we just going to let this go?" A disciple asked Feng Xiao. "Humph, I must take revenge for the humiliation. I will teach Yan Chuan a lesson. However, I must strengthen myself. I was too arrogant in the past. When I become stronger, I will find Yan Chuan for revenge." "Humph," Feng Xiao said coldly. Feng Xiao did not realize that he had undergone a huge change after this battle. At the very least, he was more ambitious than before. Along the way, Zhu Jiansheng, the 6th swordsman, and the 7 swordsmen looked at Yan Chuan from time to time. "Martial Uncle Yan." Zhu Jiansheng's face twitched. "What? Martial Uncle Yan, why didn't you fight just now? As long as you enter the state of blood, you should be able to use this to establish your prestige. The disciples in the sect will not dare to underestimate you. Ha ha, is there a need? Moreover, fighting with Jiang Nan really doesn't interest me. My sword likes to kill more." Yan Chuan smiled. Okay. Zhu Jiansheng and the others thought that Yan Chuan was pretending, but they couldn't expose him. They could only nod their heads with black lines on their faces. It didn't take long for them to arrive at Sky Peak. Sky Peak was located in the northwest of the Day sect. It was the main peak, surrounded by many smaller peaks. The mountainside of the heavenly peak had also been leveled, and a large number of palaces had been built. Everyone arrived at the waist of the mountain and looked at the main hall. "King of Hell's Palace." Hu Guang read out the palace's name. "This is the name that Martial Uncle Yan Tao changed back then. The Peak Lord can make a name for it." "Martial Uncle Yan, what name do you want it to be?" Zhu Jiansheng explained. "King of Hell's Palace? Not bad, I like this name. Let's do it." Yan Chuan smiled. Yes. Everyone nodded. "Sky Peak, King of Hell's Palace?" "Hu Guang, let the soldiers find a place to rest for the night. Tomorrow morning, prepare for the tribulation," Yan Chuan said. Yes. Hu Guang replied. The next morning, the sky had just brightened. The valley below Sky Peak was already filled with people. The 3,000 soldiers looked at Yan Chuan, who was standing at the front in high spirits. Zhu Jiansheng, the 6th swordsman, and the 7 swordsmen were all looking at him expectantly. "Lu Jin, you start first. Trigger the tribulation," Yan Chuan ordered. Yes. Lu Jin nodded. Rumble. Suddenly, rumbling sounds came from the interior of the Day sect. The disciples who woke up early all looked at the Sky Peak in the northwest. At the Black Peak, Jiang Nan also saw the dark clouds in the distance. Chapter 247. First Tribulation Cloud? Jiang Nan said disdainfully. 2 people stood beside Jiang Nan. Why? This Yan Chuan is too domineering. He wants to undergo tribulation. Why can't he let senior brother undergo tribulation too? One of Jiang Nan's followers said unhappily. Yeah, he's only going through the first tribulation. Senior brother is going through the second tribulation. The other person said. The more they talked, the uglier Jiang Nan's face became. Yeah, why should I listen to you? Looking at the tribulation cloud in the distance, Jiang Nan felt more and more uncomfortable. Protect me later. I'm going to undergo tribulation, Jiang Nan said with a gloomy face. Ah, senior brother, you're going to fight with Yan Chuan? What do you mean fight? How can his first tribulation compare to senior brother's second tribulation? Senior brother is going to teach Yan Chuan a lesson. Don't be so arrogant. Yes, He must at least crush Yin Chuan in terms of momentum. Let's see how arrogant he can be in the future. At the heavenly peak, the moment Lu Jin attracted the tribulation, the merit pool on the main peak suddenly stirred. Then rays of yellow light rushed toward Lu Jin and enveloped Lu Jin. Rumble. The tribulation cloud was getting lower and lower. The pressure of the heavens caused smoke and dust to rise from below. King, was that the merit that poured into Lu Jin's body? Hu Guang asked curiously. That's right. When merit enters the body, it will reduce the damage of the tribulation. The success rate will be greatly increased. Yin Chuan explained. So it's like wearing a suit of armor? You can say that. Yin Chuan smiled. Just as Lu Jin was feeling the tribulation, a series of roars came from the southeast. Rumble. Dark clouds covered the southeast, and thunder and lightning kept roaring. The tribulation cloud was getting bigger and bigger. In the blink of an eye, it was 10,000 feet high. The thunder was much louder than Lu Jin's. Its momentum was more than 10 times that of Lu Jin's tribulation cloud. Black Peak also has people transcending tribulation? Zhu Jiansheng said in surprise. The 6 swordsmen frowned and said, the second heavenly thunder tribulation, is it Jiangnan? Yin Chuan coldly glanced in the southwest direction. Don't worry about him. Let's continue. Begin. Yin Chuan shouted. Yes. The 3,000 soldiers shouted in unison. Boom! The 3,000 soldiers unleashed their auras at almost the same time. For a moment, a strong gale swept through the valley, sending sand and stones flying. Rumble! The tribulation clouds above the heaven peak suddenly expanded once more. And at the black peak, Jiangnan revealed a proud smile as he looked at the tribulation clouds that were 10 times larger than Tianfeng's. It was as if he could finally release the resentment he had accumulated over the past year. Boom! 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 Within the thunderclouds, 9 bolts of heavenly lightning struck down at the same time, heading straight for Jiangnan. Roar! Jiangnan's long sword slashed towards the 9 heavenly thunders in the sky. Boom! The lightning and sword collided, causing lightning to splatter in all directions. The entire valley was filled with electric arcs, and the entire valley was extremely dazzling. After the first round of lightning, Jiangnan's hair was only a little messy. It was a very successful first strike. Jiangnan glanced at the heaven peak. Rumble! The heavenly thunder tribulation had yet to begin, but the original tribulation clouds suddenly expanded. They were getting bigger and bigger. What's going on? Jiangnan rubbed his eyes and asked in disbelief. The protector at the side shouted, Senior brother, I don't know either. The tribulation clouds above the heaven peak are getting bigger and bigger. Why are they so big? Rumble. The tribulation clouds above the heaven peak continued to expand. In the blink of an eye, it went from 1,000 feet to 100,000 feet. From 100,000 feet to 100,000 feet. The rolling tribulation clouds let out heavy thunderous roars, causing the entire day sect to be unable to breathe. Countless disciples were petrified as they looked at the heaven peak. The first heavenly tribulation clouds are so big? What kind of joke is this? Damn it, is this the first heavenly tribulation clouds? Am I blind? Oh. Chapter 248. Rumble. The tribulation clouds rumbled and weighed heavily on the hearts of all the day sect disciples. The first tribulation cloud of the heavenly peak. The second tribulation cloud of the black peak. Logically speaking, the second tribulation cloud of the heavenly peak should be stronger than the first tribulation cloud of the heavenly peak. However, at this moment, countless disciples were staring at the first tribulation cloud of the heavenly peak. Everyone had gone through the first tribulation cloud of the heavenly peak, but they had never gone through such a grand tribulation cloud. The rumbling tribulation clouds covered the sky and the earth. Tens of thousands of thunder roared and shook the heavens and earth. On the main peak, Feng Tairan and the other 3 peak masters were also looking at the 2 tribulation clouds. First heavenly peak. 3,000 people going through the tribulation together? This is a grand occasion throughout the ages. Gao Bufan said with a smile. What grand occasion? It's only the first heavenly peak. Mo Wuhui said sarcastically. Your disciple is right. Yin Chuan will cause trouble wherever he goes. Just like Yin Tao back then. Feng Tairan laughed. Same. Humph. Emo Wuhui snorted. Feng Tairan looked at Emo Wuhui and shook his head with a bitter smile. Black Peak. Rumble, rumble. The second tribulation lightning struck again. Jiang Nan slashed towards the tribulation lightning again. At the same time, he looked at the direction of the heavenly peak with an ugly expression. The rumbling black clouds of the heavenly peak suddenly exploded. Rumble. The first tribulation lightning had begun. Rumble. 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 The heavens and earth lit up. 3,000 tribulation lightning struck simultaneously. It was as if the heavenly river was pouring down. It was an incomparably spectacular sight. Furthermore, it was not the river water that was pouring down, but lightning. Endless lightning. The lightning was rolling like a river. Hiss. All the day sect disciples sucked in a breath of cold air. When had they ever seen such a spectacular sight? Was this a tribulation? This was a baptism of lightning. This was playing with one's life. The first tribulation of the heavenly peak had the effect of the fourth heavenly peak. No, even the fourth heavenly peak was not as shocking as this. It was too much too fast. Rumble. 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 The lightning continued to strike, as if the heavenly peak was being punished by the heavens. Xianfeng. Jiang Nan's face instantly darkened. The trace of pride from before had long since vanished. He had wanted to use the aura of the heavenly tribulation to suppress Yan Chuan, but now it was like a slap to his face, the kind that made a crisp sound. At this moment, Jiang Nan didn't know why, but he suddenly thought of a word: overconfident. Boom, boom, boom. The second round of 9 heavenly thunders struck down. Ah! Jiang Nan vented his anger by slashing towards the sky. Boom! The lightning was dazzling. Xiao Chan chopped down the third round of heavenly lightning with a single sword strike. The sword's momentum was ferocious, and sword energy shot out in all directions. Xiao Chan could be a role model for thousands of cultivators. If it were in the past, such a stunning strike would have won the cheers of the entire hall. But now countless Xiuzha ignored Jiang Nan, as though he was doing something as boring as chopping wood. All of them were still looking in the direction of the heavenly peak. Jiang Nan suddenly felt bitter. Boom! With his emotions unstable, the fourth round of heavenly lightning struck down. Jiang Nan was careless and was struck by a bolt of heavenly lightning. His hair was disheveled and he was in an exceptionally sorry state. Ah! Jiang Nan roared, venting the inexplicable grievance in his heart. Last time, before he could draw his sword, Yan Chuan dealt with him. This time it was even more embarrassing. He went up to launch a sneak attack, but Yan Chuan's tribulation clouds looked down on him. Chapter 249. It wasn't just a matter of losing face. It was more of a matter of dignity. Their dignity was trampled on again. Last time they were trampled on. This time they were the ones who delivered themselves to others. On Xian Peak, Feng Xiao looked at Jiang Nan below with slight sympathy. On Heavenly Peak, Yan Chuan stared at the people undergoing the tribulation. It was the 7th round. The storm-like lightning baptized the 3,000 soldiers again and again. Some of the soldiers were covered with injuries and fell to the ground as if they had no strength left. Stand up! Yan Chuan shouted. The soldiers who fell to the ground had no strength left. However, when they saw Yan Chuan's serious gaze, their hearts tightened. All of a sudden their hearts tightened. Gritting their teeth, they slowly climbed to their feet. Even if I die, I will die standing. Damn it! The soldiers gathered their morale again. Rumble! The storm-like lightning rained down again. Roar! The 3,000 soldiers roared in unison. They resisted the lightning with their bodies and tempered their bodies with the lightning. After another round of lightning baptism, many of the soldiers had no strength left. However, the others immediately helped them up. The army wasn't scattered. It was a cohesive team. They wouldn't abandon or give up. There's still one more round. No one is allowed to embarrass the king. Someone shouted. No one is allowed. Everyone supported each other and welcomed the last round of lightning. Roar! Boom! They roared in unison and received the last round of lightning. The entire valley was filled with dazzling lightning arcs. After the 3,000 soldiers withstood the last bolt of lightning, almost all of them fell down together. Rumble! The thunderclouds in the sky slowly dispersed. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Although the soldiers who fell to the ground were fried on the outside and tender on the inside, they were still breathing. Although they didn't have much strength left, they were still laughing excitedly. The tribulation clouds on Heavenly Peak all dispersed. The first heavenly tribulation had ended. This wasn't just a tribulation. It was a grand visual feast. All the disciples of the Great River sect who were staring at the tribulation were excited. Similarly, the difference in Heavenly Peak had completely aroused everyone's interest. Rumble. Heavenly tribulation on Heavenly Peak continued. The second heavenly tribulation. The 29th heavenly tribulation. There were 18 rounds in total. Only half of them were down. Every round was filled with 9 bolts of lightning, which was equally spectacular. However, thinking back to the 10,000 lightning bolts just now, almost everyone who looked at the tribulation clouds in Jiangnan had a dull feeling. Jiangnan was provoked, and the impact on his heart was enormous. His former demeanor was swept to the ground, and he was even surrounded by danger for a moment. Watching Jiangnan go through the tribulation made everyone feel sorrowful. After looking at it for a while, no one paid attention to it anymore. Rumble. Slash. A man in Jiangnan shouted in embarrassment. On the heavenly peak, Zhu Jiansheng and the rest also looked in the direction of the black peak. It's Jiangnan, but... Zhu Jiansheng said with a complicated expression. Hu Guang said bluntly he asked for it. Yesterday, the king told him not to go through the tribulation, but he insisted on showing off. Now he's reaping what he sowed. Zhu Jiansheng and the others smiled bitterly. Yan Chuan smiled faintly and ignored him. Hu Guang. Yan Chuan shouted. Here. Stay here and take care of everyone. This tribulation was very successful. With the help of morale and merit, everyone broke through. Very good. Before I come back, I will reward everyone. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Yes. I'm going to see Feng Tairan. Wait for me. Chapter 250. Yes. Before long, in front of the Great River Hall, Yan Chuan and Feng Tairan stood in front of the railing, holding onto the white jade railing as they looked in the direction of the black peak. Boom! Boom! Oh! In the end, Jiangnan managed to block the 9 bolts of heavenly lightning. However, at this moment, Jiangnan's clothes were torn and his body was scorched red. After the last bolt of heavenly thunder passed out, he fell to the ground and lost consciousness. Eldest senior brother, no martial uncle. The 2 protectors rushed over anxiously. In front of the Great River Hall, Feng Tairan revealed a bitter smile. That child Jiangnan shouldn't have suffered this. Is that so? Yan Chuan smiled faintly. Of course, although Jiangnan's breakthrough is very fast, I can see that his foundation is very solid. If it weren't for you this time, he wouldn't even be injured after crossing the tribulation. Feng Tairan smiled bitterly. It's not a bad thing to be competitive. If he couldn't see the situation clearly, it would be fatal. He hasn't traveled the world yet, so it's better for him to suffer in his own home than to be taught by outsiders. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Feng Tairan looked at Yan Chuan strangely. Are you really only 18 years old? What do you think? Yan Chuan laughed. You are a monster. Feng Tairan shook his head and laughed. Maybe. After being confused for so many years, it's time to wake up. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Your clarity of mind is beyond my expectations. Feng Tairan smiled bitterly. Isn't that good? Yan Chuan laughed. All right. Feng Tairan nodded. Then, Feng Tairan's expression gradually became serious. I've already sent the others away. Now let's talk about your father. Feng Tairan said solemnly. Well, I'm listening. Yan Chuan's face also became serious. The Earth Peak's Peak Lord Mo Wu Hui, have you met him? Feng Tairan asked. Of course I remember. It seems that he doesn't like me very much. Yan Chuan smiled. Sai, speaking of which, don't blame her. She won't harm you. Feng Tairan smiled bitterly. Oh, back then, if it weren't for your mother's appearance, Wu Hui would have become your father's wife. It was only after your mother's appearance that everything changed, and all these years she hasn't been able to let go. Feng Tairan explained. Yan Chuan's face turned solemn. The grudge he had against Mo Wu Hui was instantly dispelled. I watched Yin Tao grow up. When I passed on the position to him, I could see that he would definitely be the hope of the Day sect in the future. Unfortunately, life makes fools of people. Feng Tairan felt a wave of regret. Yes, Yin Chuan was also silent for a while. Back then, the 100 sects came with great momentum. The other party's background was too great. At that time, in front of me, in front of the heads of the 100 sects, in front of that big shot, in front of the entire Day sect, he drew his sword and cut his own throat. Ha ha! Feng Tairan's eyes were moist. My father was forced to commit suicide in front of everyone? A cold light flashed in Yin Chuan's eyes. Feng Tairan looked up to the sky and let out a long sigh. Your father was a sentimental person. At that time, your mother was seriously injured and died. Your father also wanted to die. In order to protect the Day sect, he committed suicide with your mother. Feng Tairan said sorrowfully, "Where is my father buried?" Yin Chuan said in a cold tone, "Buried?" Oh, that big shot felt that it was not enough to vent his anger. In the end, he reached out and smashed your parents' bodies into powder. There were no bones left. We could only erect a cenotaph. Feng Tairan said sadly, "Bastard!" Boom! In his anger, Yin Chuan smashed the railing he was holding onto. "I'll take you there. Come with me," Feng Tairan said bitterly. Chapter 251. Day Sect. Halfway up a small mountain not far from the heavenly peak. Halfway up the mountain there was an ordinary grave. There was no tombstone and it was just sitting there alone. If one didn't clean it often, one would easily mistake it for a small mound. In front of the grave there was some wine, fruits, and a bouquet of fresh flowers. Not far away, there was a stone table and stone stool. Feng Tairan and Yin Chuan stood in front of the small grave in silence. Many people don't know about this small grave. For the sake of Day sect, I don't dare to let too many people know about it. I'm worried that the big shot's anger hasn't subsided. This is your parents' grave. Wu Hui has been cleaning it. Feng Tairan smiled bitterly. Peak Master Mo Wu Hui? Yin Chuan frowned. Yes, she can't let it go. I often see her coming at night and sitting on this stone stool for the whole night. Feng Tairan said bitterly. I understand. Yin Chuan nodded. Let's sit down and talk. Tower also left you something. Feng Tairan said. The two sat on the stone stool. Feng Tairan flipped his hand and took out a jade box. The jade box was covered with blood-red seals. Streams of light flashed across it, making it look extremely mysterious. Blood essence seal? Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. Yes, your father gave this to me before he killed himself. He said that only your blood can open the seal. You've heard of this seal? Feng Tairan was surprised. Yes, indeed. The person who set up this seal and the person who unsealed it must have the same bloodline. At the same time, the person who set up the seal must have dyed the seal with my blood. This seal was indeed left behind by my father. Yin Chuan nodded. Tower said that he wrote everything down and put it in this box. You'll understand when you see it. Feng Tairan said. All right. Yin Chuan nodded. Dong. At the main peak, the sound of a bell suddenly rang out. Ah. Feng Tairan looked in the direction of the main peak in surprise. What is it? The bell will only ring when something big happens in the sect. I'll go take a look. Feng Tairan stood up. Yin Chuan nodded. Whoosh. In the blink of an eye, Feng Tairan shot into the distance. Yin Chuan ignored him and looked at the grave mound. He frowned and looked at the jade box. He forced out a drop of blood essence and dripped it into the seal. Chi. The blood-red restriction melted like snow and soon disappeared. Taking a deep breath, Yin Chuan gently opened the jade box. There were a total of 4 items in the jade box. There was a letter, a map, a small purple token, and a yellow wooden stake that was as thick as an arm and covered in runes. Yin Chuan took out the letter first. For my son, opening the envelope, Yin Chuan took out the letter and began to read it. Son, when you see this letter, your father will definitely go to see your mother. Your mother and I are very regretful that we didn't get to see you grow up. Your mother was thinking about you even when she was about to die. Alas. Now hundreds of sects have forced us to leave you these last words and tell you everything. Your father is called Yin Tao. Your mother is called Kong Susu. the daughter of the Western Kong family. Do you see the purple token in the box? Your mother asked me to leave it for you. It's called Ask Heaven Token. It's useless to tell you too much now. In the future, if you can become stronger, you should be able to find out when you go to the West. However, your mother and the Kong family have a bad relationship. Very bad. You should not trust the Kong family too much. Chapter 252. Seeing this, Yin Chuan took out the purple token from the jade box. The token was octagonal with the words Ask and Heaven written on it. The material was very special. Even with Yin Chuan's experience, he could not tell what it was. The Ask Heaven token was simple and did not have the slightest ripple of mana. But in Yin Chuan's eyes, it was extraordinary. Yin Tao Kong Susu? Yin Chuan looked at the small grave not far away and sighed. Then he continued to look at the envelope. Son, let me tell you a secret of the Yin clan. You should have heard of blood demon Yin Tao. Hair like blood. Nature like a demon. I don't know when you will be able to reach my level. But, in theory, everyone in the Yin clan has this chance. It's just that some people can trigger it while others can't. This is a supernatural power that only belongs to the Yin clan. Do you know about supernatural powers? Our ancestor was a powerful immortal. This is a supernatural power created by the immortal. After the bloodline was passed down, some of the descendants of the immortal will inherit this supernatural power. The entire Yin clan is passed down by word of mouth. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time and could only leave a letter to tell you. I didn't bring any clan members into the cultivation world because I was worried that if it was exposed, it would lead to a disaster. I only prepared to bring some geniuses into the cultivation world. Unfortunately, I didn't meet any geniuses in these years. Of course, my son is definitely a genius. I saw Yin Choyu's son last time and he seemed to have a natural sword bone. At that time, I knew that I was going to die, so I didn't bring him into the cultivation world. If you have the chance in the future, you can guide him to cultivate. Our bloodline supernatural power is called supernatural power. Although I don't know what our ancestor was thinking, I still like this name. Super, it means to surpass those of the same level. Once the supernatural power is activated within a day, one's strength will skyrocket to the point where it can surpass those of the same level. At that time you will be very excited, extremely bloodthirsty. But don't worry, your rationality will still be there. It's just that you will be more excited. It's like quickly raising your cultivation level by one level. The power realm can be raised to the essence realm in a day. As for the level of the profound realm, it would depend on one's luck. I'm a chi refiner. During the Heaven's Gift Conference, I defeated many emptiness realm experts. According to our ancestors, there are 3 different states of super mystiques. What I experienced just now was only the first state. I haven't experienced the second or third state yet. But don't worry, these states usually only last for a day. They won't affect you. After a day, he would have to wait at least a month before he could activate it again. Make good use of it. Holding the envelope, Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes. Immortal bloodline? Super divine ability? His strength instantly skyrocketed by an entire realm? A realm. This divine ability is indeed powerful. Yin Chuan exclaimed in shock. Father, you've done well. Once this ability is known by some sinister people, our Yin clan will never have a day of peace. Yin Chuan took a deep breath. After a moment of silence, he turned his attention back to the envelope. Over the past few hundred years, I have some savings. But this time your mother and I were forced into a corner and implicated too many people. I have given many things to my old friends as compensation. I hope you don't blame us. Chapter 253. Of course, I didn't plan to leave too much for you. My son Yin Tao must rely on his own hands to create a world. It's not good to leave too much for you. Work hard and take revenge for us in the future. Remember, the person who killed your mother and I was a strong man in the West. He's called Emperor Mo Ku. He's very famous in the West. You'll definitely know him in the future. It's only right for a son to take revenge for a father. However, son, you have to do everything within your means. Before taking revenge, you must protect yourself. Your mother and I will protect you. Seeing this, Yin Chuan smiled slightly. It's only right for a son to take revenge for a father. Don't worry, one day, I will use his head to pay tribute to you. Emperor Imoku? He actually calls himself emperor? Yin Chuan thought for a moment. Of course, I can't leave nothing for you. Do you see the map in the box? That's a huge mine I found. If you don't have the ability, you can slowly continue the Yin clan's bloodline with this mine. It's enough to eat for tens of thousands of years. If you can make a career out of it, you can take out this mine and use it yourself. However, you have to reach the divine realm before you can take it. Right now, you don't have the ability to protect it. After reaching the divine realm, go and take a look at this huge mine that I left for you. Haha. Mine? Yin Chuan looked at the map in the box. The map was very detailed. Although he didn't know where it was, as long as he was nearby, he should be able to find it. Okay, I'll look for it when I reach the divine realm. Yin Chuan smiled slightly and didn't care about the mine. There's also a wooden stake in the box. Do you see it? That thing isn't mine and I don't know how to use it, but it's definitely a treasure. This was left behind by an old man from the Archaic Mysteries sect before he died. You may not know about the Archaic Mysteries sect, but it's best not to provoke them. They're a sect that cultivates luck, the most mysterious place in the world. They rarely wander around. But I was lucky to meet this old man. I asked him to help me calculate your NZZs. The old man said that your soulless disease will definitely recover one day. It's just that he doesn't know when. Then he helped to calculate ZZs. In the end, he had calculated his own death. He didn't know if it was true or not. Before he died, he said that he had caused a great disaster by divining ZZ. He had gone against heaven's will and was punished by heaven, so he had to die. He didn't know if it was true or not. Old man? Looks like he's a fate usurper who cultivates fate. He divined purple and suffered a backlash from the heavens? Yin Chuan said in astonishment. He continued reading. The old man said that ZZ's life providence was Tao God's wife. In other words, from the moment she was born, she was destined to be the wife of a Tao God. I asked the old man, who is the Tao God? The old man said that the Tao God was the heavens. ZZ was born to be God's wife? If it weren't for the fact that he kept vomiting blood, he would have kicked him. The vast heavens did not have any consciousness, so how could it marry a wife? Was the old man crazy? The old man told me that it wasn't a curse on ZZ but a heavenly curse. The heavenly curse had been with ZZ as she grew up. She was the wife of a Tao God, and she couldn't be blasphemed. Heaven wouldn't allow it. No one could. So under the heavenly curse, no one could get close. Regardless of whether they were good to her or bad to her, they would have endless bad luck. The heavenly curse would eliminate anyone who dared to touch ZZ. I'm only telling you the old man's words. Judge for yourself. After the old man finished divining ZZ, he left a few words and died. He left behind the wooden stake that he had divined. You can do as you see fit. Finally, son, if your mother and I are in heaven, we will definitely bless you. Chapter 254. Finally, son, if your mother and I are in heaven, we will definitely bless you. After reading the last sentence, Yin Chuan fell into a deep silence. Although the whole thing was about stories, one could feel a deep sense of father-son love between the lines. Yin Chuan folded the letter and gently placed it in his bosom. He remained silent for a long time. He looked at the remaining 3 items in the box: the map, the heaven-seeking token, and the yellow wooden stake. He gently closed the jade box. Standing up, Yin Chuan looked around. The Jade Emperor's sword in his hand slashed at a huge rock. Clang! 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 After a series of slashes, a large tombstone was carved out. Boom! The tombstone was inserted in front of the small grave. Clang! Clang! The Jade Emperor's sword carved on the tombstone. The tomb of my late father Yen Tao and mother Kong Susu. Erected by Yin Chuan. A tombstone was carved in an instant. Looking at the tombstone, Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, "In this life you are my parents. This is fate. Yin Chuan will not let you down." After that, Yin Chuan bowed deeply to the grave for a while. Then he carried the jade box and walked towards Heaven Peak. Not long after Yin Chuan left, a white figure landed in front of the grave. It was the Earth Peak's Peak Master Mo Wu Hui. Looking at the new tombstone, Mo Wu Hui's eyes unconsciously shed 2 lines of tears. Senior, all these years no one dared to erect a tombstone for you. Because as soon as someone suggested it, many people would oppose it. They were too afraid. Your son erected it without anyone's consent. Haha. I see that your son will not disgrace you. Mo Wu Hui touched the tombstone and said sadly, Big Sister Kong already agreed to it back then. Why didn't senior brother accept me? Before she died, she asked me to take good care of you. Why didn't you give me a chance? I know that you want to protect my life. But without you, what's the point of me living? Mo Wu Hui bit his lips and said sadly, Senior brother, although you can't accept me, you can't stop me from liking you. When you died that day, my heart had already died. I promised elder sister Kong that I would take good care of you, but you didn't give me a chance. I've thought about it. I'll help your son become the sect head. When he becomes the sect head, I'll come and see you. Mo Wu Hui said in a choked voice, Heaven Peak, King Yama's palace. When Yin Chuan returned, Feng Tairan also came to Heaven's Peak in the evening. Yin Chuan, I'm here to tell you that I'll be leaving the sect soon. I've already arranged everything for you to enjoy in the sect. Feng Tairan said. What happened? Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. Something did happen. Recently, a large number of demonic beasts escaped from the demonic Wind Mountain range. As a result, there are many demonic beasts around the Day sect. 2 first-generation disciples went to the demonic Wind Mountain range to investigate. In the end, one died and the other returned with injuries. Feng Tairan said with an ugly expression, You're going to the demonic Wind Mountain range? Yin Chuan frowned. That's right. Feng Tairan nodded. I don't care about your matters. Before I leave, I want to trouble you with something. Huh. Back then there were 100 sects that forced my father to his death. Please write them down one by one for me. Yin Chuan said solemnly. 100 sects? You want to? Feng Tairan raised his eyebrows. Don't worry, I'll do what I can. Yin Chuan said. Chapter 255. Although a little reluctant, Feng Tairan nodded and said, Okay, you must be careful, don't be reckless. I know. Taking out a pen and paper, Feng Tairan quickly wrote. Great Winged Heaven School. Life League. Misty Mountain. Feng Tairan quickly wrote down all the 100 sections. 100 sects? My father said that the one who forced them to death was Emperor Moku, a big shot from the west? These are all from the west? Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. No, these are all sects from the east. In fact, the main one is the Great Winged Heaven School. The other sects are all vassals of the Great Winged Heaven School. Feng Tairan said. Oh, I don't know if you're aware of this, but other than the Heaven's Merit Pool, there's also the sect conferment. The upper sect can confer titles to some middle sects, and the middle sects can confer titles to lower sects. The sects that have been conferred titles can receive the merit pool, but half of the accumulated merits must be contributed to the sect that conferred the title. Moreover, the upper sect has orders that the sects that have been conferred titles must obey unconditionally. I know that the heaven and earth merit pool obtained in this way does not belong to us. The upper sect can withdraw it at any time, and such vassals can only be vassals forever. The days of being a vassal are not good. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. The Great Winged Heaven School is a middle sect. When the Great Winged Heaven School gave an order, nearly 100 sects all joined in. Back then it was overwhelming. 100,000 cultivators surrounded the Day sect so tightly that even mosquitoes couldn't fly out. Feng Tairan smiled bitterly. Great Winged Heaven School? 100,000 cultivators from 100 sects? Yin Chuan's face was gloomy. The Great Winged Heaven School originally had no enmity with our Day sect. The one who ordered the 100 sects to surround and kill the Day sect was the current Shinkuan Kuroha. It seems that Emperor Moku helped him win the position of sect master. Feng Tairan said in a deep voice. Shinkuan Kuroha? Yin Chuan nodded solemnly. I'm leaving soon. Take good care of yourself. Feng Tairan comforted. Don't worry. Yin Chuan nodded. After sending Feng Tairan off, Yin Chuan frowned and pondered for a while before bringing Lu Jin to the scripture pavilion on the main peak. With Feng Tairan's instructions, the guards of the scripture depository did not make things difficult for him. Peak Master Tian, there are nearly 1,000 cultivation techniques in the scripture depository. Have you thought of a good cultivation technique? I'll get it for you. The guard said respectfully. I want all the sword techniques, spear techniques, and whip techniques. Also, all the cultivation techniques above the earth level. Yin Chuan said directly. Ah, the guard was at a loss. What's wrong? There are spear techniques, sword techniques, and whip techniques. However, our day sect only has the human-level cultivation technique. The only earth-level cultivation technique can only be practiced by the sect master of each generation. Only the sect master has it. The guard was in a difficult position. Then forget about the cultivation technique. Give me the movement technique. Yin Chuan said. Yes. Soon, nearly 100 cultivation techniques were delivered to Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan nodded. He let Lu Jin carry them and turned to return to the heavenly peak. In the King of Hell's palace, Hu Guang looked at the booklets in front of him with slight excitement. In the mortal world, this was a cultivation technique that people would fight for. Hu Guang, here. Take these 20 spear techniques back and practice them well. Among the 100 weapons, the spear is the hardest to practice. It's easy to learn but hard to master. Some people practice only one spear for their entire life. If they learn too many things, they won't be able to master anything. Since you have chosen the spear, you will practice the spear for the rest of your life. As for other weapons, at most you will have a shallow understanding. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. Hu Guang replied. Also, only the cultivation techniques created by yourself are the strongest. Although these 20 spear techniques are powerful, they are suitable for the creator. You, the First Legion, practice them well. Assimilate them and make them your own. Then create something that belongs to you. Learn from the strengths of other schools and create your own path. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Thank you, my king. Hu Guang said respectfully. Hu Guang understood that the king was guiding him. Although they did not address each other as master and disciple, the king's guidance was more detailed. Lu Jin, I see that you like to play with the horsetail whisk. You can learn this whip technique with me. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Ah, the Lord also practices the whip? Lu Jin said in surprise. I am also using it as a reference. Just like these sword techniques. Although they are ordinary, there will be benefits. Yin Chuan explained. Yes. Lu Jin nodded. By the way, my king, what do you mean by the earth-class cultivation techniques that you mentioned earlier? Lu Jin asked curiously. The techniques that we brought back are only techniques. There is another type of cultivation technique. The higher the grade of the cultivation technique, the faster the cultivation, the more solid it is, or the more outstanding it is in a certain aspect. For example, some ice-type and fire-type cultivation techniques are classified into different categories. The quality of these cultivation techniques is mainly divided into heaven-class, earth-class, and human-class cultivation techniques. Under the immortal cultivation techniques, heaven-class cultivation techniques are the strongest, and human-class cultivation techniques are the weakest. Yin Chuan explained. Oh, I understand. But our cultivation techniques are not even at the human-class level. Why? Lu Jin did not understand. Don't worry. I will help you find them. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Yes, the two answered. Cultivate these cultivation techniques well. The First Legion should also rest well. Thousands of demons have escaped from the demonic wind mountains. In a month, I will take you out of the sect to kill them. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Yes. Go. The two left the King of Hell's palace. They closed the door. Only Yin Chuan was left in the palace. Yin Chuan lifted his left sleeve. The seed-like birthmark on his wrist was exposed again. However, the birthmark was slightly different now. The seed had changed a little, as if it had grown. I have just reached the essence state. My essence is limited. How can I feed you? In a month, when the First Legion is mature, we will go out to kill demons and devour a large number of demons. Then I will slowly refine the essence to feed you. Yin Chuan smiled. As he spoke, Yin Chuan's wrist trembled slightly. A green vine slowly emerged from the birthmark. The vine grew longer and longer. In the blink of an eye, it had grown to 20 feet. He held the vine firmly with his left hand and swung it slightly. The vine instantly wrapped around the Jade Emperor sword not far away. With a slight pull, the Jade Emperor sword flew to his right hand. In midair, the Jade Emperor sword seemed to be struggling and trembled slightly. Buzz! The tip of the vine was instantly shattered. The Jade Emperor sword also returned to Yin Chuan's right hand with the help of inertia. The remaining vine was unusually flexible. It was as if it was a part of Yin Chuan's body. Whoosh! The vine suddenly retracted into the birthmark on Yin Chuan's wrist. You're too weak. Right now I can't use my whip techniques at all. Yin Chuan smiled slightly. But I believe in you, Poison Ivy. You will definitely be able to recover. Yin Chuan said with certainty. Chapter 256. A month later, north of Day Sect, Yin Chuan led the army across the mountains and stopped at the peak of a mountain. Hu Guang and Lu Jin stood behind him. Yin Chuan touched the small gray jade token on his neck and smiled. King, the queen asked the great swordsman to give you a safety talisman when she arrived at Carefree City? Is the safety talisman still useful after entering the cultivation world? Lu Jin smiled. This is not a safety talisman. Perhaps Zizi has never seen a real one. She just wanted to give me peace of mind. Yin Chuan smiled. No matter what, it is the queen's goodwill. Even if it's just for peace of mind. Lu Jin smiled. No, this is not an accessory. This is called an Earth Escape Talisman. The great swordsman must have never seen it before, so he did not recognize it. Yin Chuan said. Earth Escape Talisman? That's right. This Earth Escape Talisman is extremely precious. Many times it can save one's life. Even an Earth-grade cultivation technique might not be comparable to it. Yin Chuan said. Oh. Lu Jin nodded. King, where are we going? We saw some demonic beasts on the way. Why didn't you let us kill them? Hu Guang was puzzled. I'm bringing you to earn merit. Yin Chuan smiled. Merit? Hu Guang was surprised. King, how do we earn merit? Lu Jin asked curiously. It's not difficult, but it's not easy either. Oh. The purest form of gratitude is merit. Yin Chuan smiled. Gratitude? How? For example, let's say a bandit wants to kill 10 women and children. When the 10 women and children are at their most helpless, if you help them fight off the bandit or kill the bandit, will the 10 women and children be grateful to you? Yin Chuan asked. Probably. Yin Chuan explained, once this feeling of gratitude is produced, it will turn into merit. When you have a merit pool to absorb merit, this merit will continuously flow into it. Merit is a sense of gratitude? That's simple. Hu Guang exclaimed in surprise. That's not right, my king. What if it's the gratitude of being cheated? For example, if there were no bandits in the first place, I could lie to the women and children saying that bandits were about to kill them. They would panic, and I could lie to them that I had already defeated the bandits. These women and children would still be grateful to me. Could this gratitude be converted into merit? Lu Jin said after some thought. Ha ha, well said, but that doesn't count. Why? Merit and virtue actually have to be separated into two words. One is merit, and the other is virtue. To be more precise, the concept of gratefulness was the virtue. If one did not contribute enough merit to this virtue, how could it be formed? Whatever man does, the heavens are watching. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Yes, we understand. The two of them took a deep breath. All of you have experienced too little merit. As the peak master of Heavenly Peak, the merit I enjoy can double my cultivation speed. However, the merit sect master Feng Tyran enjoys can triple his cultivation speed. This is what it means to be in a lower sect. As one's grade increases, the effect of the merit that he enjoys will become stronger. Yin Chuan explained. Yes, we will work hard to accumulate merit. Hu Guang said excitedly. Let's go. The border of the Demon Wind Mountain Range is in front of us. It is a mortal kingdom. Now that thousands of demons have escaped, it will definitely become a gathering place for demons. Not only can we accumulate resources there, we can also earn merit. Yin Chuan said. Yes. Chapter 257. Half a day later, after crossing hundreds of rivers, Yin Chuan and the others stood on top of a hill. Everyone's eyes widened. In front of them was a city that looked like Yanjing. Most of the city walls had collapsed. Save me. Dad, save me. Screams of agony could be heard continuously. A large number of bat-like monsters were flying in the sky above the city. They kept grabbing mortals and taking them away, or they would eat them nearby. On the ground there were also a large number of monsters. After breaking through the city walls, they kept biting the mortals. The scene was extremely bloody. It was like hell on earth. King Hu Guang's expression changed. Monsters that are interested in mortals can't be too strong. They should be in the essence state. Go and kill them. Build up your achievements first. Then you'll get good karma. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. Hu Guang replied. First Legion, follow me and kill the enemies. Hu Guang shouted. Yes. The 3,000 soldiers of the embroidered uniform army were like ferocious tigers descending the mountain. Under Hu Guang's command, they charged straight towards the demonic beasts below. Fire! Hu Guang shouted. Bang! Thousands of arrows rained down on the bat monsters in the distance. Wah wah wah! The bat monsters roared angrily. Kill! Kill! The army charged into the city in the blink of an eye. There were hundreds of monsters in the city and hundreds of bat monsters circling in the sky. However, the army was well trained. Wherever they went, they were invincible. It's the Immortals. We're saved. Help! Save my dad. My dad was taken by the bats. That's great. As if they had entered hell, infinite hope appeared in the eyes of the people. The Immortals were here. Once they killed the monsters, they would be saved. Everyone was grateful. At the peak of the mountain, Lu Jin accompanied Yan Chuan to watch the massacre in the city. Wang, the cultivation techniques of the Immortal sect are indeed extraordinary. Hu Guang and the others' battle prowess has increased by at least 30%. Lu Jin said excitedly. Cultivation method? The best cultivation methods are all tempered in life and death. Yan Chuan said coolly. They quietly waited for the massacre in the city. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours later. After the army killed nearly 600 demonic beasts, the remaining demonic beasts fled one after another. We're saved. Heavens, the demon is gone, the demon is gone. I'm saved. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. The survivors in the city were all overjoyed. After a moment of ecstasy, everyone fell silent again. The pain of losing a loved one welled up in his heart once again. Fellow Immortals, if it wasn't for you, all the citizens in our city would have died. May I ask where you are from? Yi City would like to erect a shrine for all of you to thank you forever. The mayor stepped forward. We are from the Dai sect, the people of Tianfeng. My name is Hu Guang. Hu Guang said with a smile. Ignoring these mortals, he ordered his subordinates to carry the demonic beasts out of the city. When they left the city, all the citizens came out of the city to send them off. Many even kowtowed to express their gratitude. Waves of gratitude surged out of his heart. It was as if streaks of yellow light were rushing to everyone. The soldiers didn't notice anything, but Hu Guang had the army destroyer will. He felt a warm current flowing into his heart. At the same time in the Dai sect. Rumble. Merit kept churning in the merit pool. Chapter 258. Many disciples looked up at the sky. The merit pool has grown bigger? Why is there such a huge amount of merit? Who earned it? The heavenly peak. The extra merit came from the heavenly peak. Heavenly peak. The disciples of the Dai sect were surprised. Yan Chuan had just returned and he was already accumulating merit? Mo Wuhui, Gao Bufan, and Feng Tianyu frowned as they looked at the sky. Yan Chuan went out? He should be saving the mortals of the cold country in the north. Feng Tianyu guessed. Merit is boundless. However, now that thousands of demons are escaping, it's fine if they encounter low-level demons. If they encounter high-level demons, will they be in danger? Gao Bufan sighed. Before the sect leader left, he told us not to leave the sect. Moreover, we don't know where Yan Chuan went. We can't do anything about it. Mo Wuhui frowned. How about this? I will send my 7 disciples out to find Yan Chuan and protect Yan Chuan. Gao Bufan thought for a while and said, that would be the best. Feng Tianyu nodded. Mo Wuhui did not say anything. In a valley, Lu Jin and the rest served Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan ate the wolf meat and looked at the two of them. Hu Guang, how do the soldiers feel? In 3 days we have eaten nearly 500 demons. This is something we would never have dared to think about in the past. I asked you, what did you learn from the battle? Yin Chuan smiled. Oh, I misunderstood. Battle? The spear art that we learned a month ago is comprehended faster in battle. Hu Guang said with a serious face. Well, this is just the beginning. That was just one city. This mortal country is not just one city. This mortal country is called the Cold Country. We'll kill our way to their capital, Liangjing. We'll kill as many demonic beasts as there are. And we'll let you guys practice. Yin Chuan said. Yes, but in the last battle, 2 soldiers were accidentally bitten to death by the demon wolves. Hu Guang said regretfully. Accidentally? After this they will know how to be careful. Without experiencing the tempering of countless life and death situations, how can they become lions of 100 battles? Yin Chuan said solemnly. Yes. Hu Guang said regretfully. I understand. When I was a soldier I already had this awareness. It's just that those 2 soldiers were already in the essence realm. It's such a pity that they died at this moment. Looking at Hu Guang, Yin Chuan smiled faintly, shook his head and said, do you think practitioners don't have to die? Just like mortals they are very weak because cultivators also face stronger opponents. When fighting they must learn how to protect themselves. Yes. When we return to the Yen state, if half of the 3,000 soldiers are still alive, I'll be relieved. Yin Chuan sighed softly. Half? Hu Guang's expression changed. Go and have a meal with the soldiers. Yes, I will definitely protect the soldiers. Hu Guang said solemnly. Nodding, Yin Chuan ignored him and continued to eat the demonic beasts. Half of the demonic beast's essence was used to strengthen his body, and the other half was eaten by the poison ivy birthmark on his right wrist. 2 days later, the group arrived at the vicinity of another city. Save me. Kill. In the city demonic beasts roamed freely. However, there were also close to 1,000 cultivators who were wielding their swords and killing the demonic beasts. Moreover, there was a cultivator who was carrying a huge flag. There were 3 big words written on the flag. Life League. King, these are cultivators from another sect, right? They are also accumulating merits? Hu Guang asked curiously. Life League? Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes. King, you know them? Hu Guang asked curiously. Back then, the Life League had a part to play in forcing my father to his death. Yin Chuan's eyes turned cold. Hu Guang and Lu Jin's expressions changed. King, don't worry. None of these 1,000 people will leave. Hu Guang immediately said in a deep voice. Chapter 259. Your Majesty, don't worry. None of these 1,000 people will leave. Hu Guang immediately said in a deep voice. Yes. Yin Chuan replied in a low voice. I'll go now. Hu Guang was about to summon the First Legion. Now? For what? Yin Chuan shook his head. Wait. Remember, stay calm at all times. These people are fighting with the beasts. Wait until they're done before you attack. Besides, we haven't found their leader yet. Yin Chuan said. Yes. Hu Guang replied. At the same time, on another mountain peak, there were 5 men in Taoist robes. The 5 of them carried long swords on their backs and looked down at the city below. Big brother, there are people over there. Suddenly, one of them said. Everyone turned around and saw Yin Chuan and his group from afar. 3,000? That many? Another man frowned. Who are these people? While everyone was worried, the leader sneered. Don't worry. Oh, I know these people. It's been more than a month. They're the bastards of the Day sect, Yin Tao. The leader sneered. Yin Chuan? That's right. They're just a bunch of people who came from the secular world. The leader said. It's our people who are killing the beasts in the city. Yin Chuan wouldn't want to take advantage of us, would he? Humph, he doesn't deserve it. The leader sneered. Big brother, what should we do? If he wants to defend, then let him. We'll wait for the Life League to earn some merit points, then we'll take care of them. 3,000. We 5 Qijing warriors don't have to do anything. The leader said. Yes. At the same time, Yan Chuan turned to look at the 5 men. King, there are people over there. Hu Guang said. 5 Qijing warriors, don't worry. Yan Chuan said. Yes. Hu Guang nodded. The army waited patiently. Finally, after 4 hours, all the demonic beasts in the distance had been driven away. Nearly 100 of the nearly 1,000 cultivators had died. All of them dragged their fatigue and earned the gratitude of the citizens of the city, earning enough merit. Carrying the corpses of the demonic beasts, the group stepped out of the city. He met up with the other 5 Qijing warriors and walked towards Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan led the first legion and slowly walked into a huge canyon. He started to confront the people of the Life League. The 5 Qijing warriors sneered at Yan Chuan. You are Yan Tao's vile spawn? The leader sneered. You know my father? Yan Chuan said with a deep smile. How could I not know him? Back then, when we encircled and annihilated your father, we saw him commit suicide with our own eyes. What, are you here to take revenge today? The leader sneered. You're right. Yan Chuan smiled. Huh. The 5 of them were slightly stunned. Fierce tiger army formation. Yan Chuan's face turned serious. Yes. Boom boom boom. The 3,000 soldiers immediately stood in their former military formation. Blood qi gushed out, forming the phantom image of a fierce tiger once again. Oh, an array? The 5 Qijing warriors squinted their eyes. All rivers flow into the sea. Gather your blood and qi into my body. Yan Chuan shouted. Roar. The 3,000 soldiers roared and waved their hands. A red qi of blood flowed through the fierce tiger army formation and into Yan Chuan's body. Boom boom boom. Yan Chuan's long hair fluttered in the wind. As the 3,000 qi of blood flowed into his body, a powerful qi of blood exploded around him. The qi of blood spread out and turned the surrounding soil upside down. This is... The leader of the Qijing warriors was shocked. Chapter 260. Gathering the strength of 3,000 people? You want me to reach the Qi state? So what if he is at the Qijing level? He is at most at the early stage of the Qijing level. That's right. His strength has increased to the Qi realm, and he doesn't have any combat experience. There's nothing to worry about. The 5 Qijing cultivators said disdainfully, but they all pulled out their swords. Yan Chuan's power suddenly increased. He borrowed the blood and qi from the 3,000 people, and reached the early Qijing level. Stepping out, he was surrounded by a whirlwind. Xing! Yan Chuan pulled out the Jade Emperor sword. Hu Guang reorganized the troops and take a break. Wait for me to kill these 5 Qijing warriors. Don't leave a single one alive. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Understood. Hu Guang replied. He stomped on the ground. Boom! Yan Chuan drew his sword and shot out. A sword cultivator charged forward with a cold expression. Dang! 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 Qi! That practitioner was split in half by Yan Chuan's sword. Old 5. Someone on the other side exclaimed. Impossible. How is that possible? 5 swords? He killed Old 5th with just 5 strikes? The 4 Qi state cultivators' hair stood on end as they stared at Yan Chuan in shock. What kind of sword technique is this? The leader asked with an extremely ugly expression. My Yan Chuan's sword technique is the 24 moves of sword. Unfortunately, he was too weak. He was only able to reach the 5th move before he was cut down by me. Yan Chuan sneered. Attack together. The leader said with an ugly expression. Okay. The other 3 answered at the same time. The 4 of them immediately formed a sword formation and charged towards Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan's lips curled into a cold smile as he charged forward. Clink! 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 As the 2 swords clashed, Yan Chuan's body turned into a blur of shadows. Sword qi shot out from his hands as he swung his sword, creating hundreds of sword shadows that blocked the attack of the 4 Qi state warriors. Impossible, we 4 sword cultivators can't beat this little brat? Sun and moon sword formation. Roar! Strong winds blew in all directions, and dust rose in all directions. The smoke and dust was filled with the sword qi that burst out from the crowd. Hu Guang and Lu Jin both looked worried. Qi! A streak of bloody light soared into the sky. Large amounts of internal organs, intestines, and blood sprayed out. They were colorful and extremely disgusting. Second brother. A cry of surprise came from within the dust. This is only sword 5. Die sword 6. Yin Chuan's cold shout came from within the dust. Chi. Another blood-red light soared into the sky, and an arm flew out of the smoke and dust. Ah! Third brother, you killed third brother. Seventh swordsman. Chi. Ah, boss is dead. You killed boss. His voice was trembling. Trying to escape? Eighth sword. Following Yin Chuan's last shout, a large amount of severed limbs soared into the sky again. The sound in the dust shocked the disciples of the Life League. Before the dust settled, Yin Chuan slowly walked out with blood all over his body. The Jade Emperor's sword turned bright red again. Although Yin Chuan's body was covered in blood, it was not his own. When he walked out coldly, the Imperial Secret Army was shocked. 5 Qi Realm cultivators. Their king killed 5 Qi Realm cultivators? Guang, I'll leave the rest to you. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes, brothers, the target is 200 feet away from the enemy. Leave no one alive. Kill. Guang shouted. Roar. After 10,000 arrows were shot, the 3,000 soldiers quickly rushed forward. Their king's order was to leave no one alive. Therefore they could not let them escape. As the army charged forward, the dust from the battlefield also dissipated. When the dust settled, there was a ground full of severed limbs and Qi realm cultivators. Chapter 261. King, are you alright? Lu Jin immediately went up to him. Don't worry, I'll just wash them later. The ferocious tiger army formation won't be able to hold out for long. Those 5 Qijing cultivators were asking for it. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Kill. Avenge the old emperor. I'm invincible. 3,000 Genie army soldiers charged forward. The Life League disciples were already exhausted from killing the beasts earlier. How could they face the Genie army? Ah! Don't kill me. Help! After a series of screams, they were all killed by the Genie army. The ground was littered with corpses. Search them. Put the items with Lu Jin. Bury them later. Yin Chuan said. Yes. From the bodies of the cultivators, they found some herbs, fasting pills, and 3,000 low-grade spiritual stones. They were all placed in Lu Jin's spatial scroll. As for the weapons, other than the 5 long swords of the 5 Qijing experts, Yin Chuan didn't care about the rest. After burying the Life League disciples, they left quickly with the corpses of the beasts. They found a big lake and washed the blood off their bodies. Then they started to eat again. Hundreds of beasts were eaten in a few days. The biggest benefit of a large supply of beasts was the continuous growth of their profound qi. The group headed towards the capital of the Liang Kingdom. A month later, they arrived at the outskirts of Liang Kingdom. Many of the soldiers had a lot of scars on their bodies. However, none of them complained. In the past month, everyone's combat power had increased by a lot. There were no signs of beasts attacking Liang Kingdom. However, there were cultivators flying in and out from time to time. Apparently, this place had become a temporary camp for cultivators. Let's rest for a while in the city. We'll continue after we recuperate. Yin Chuan said. Yes. Everyone nodded. Yin Chuan led the army towards the city. The Genie army were carrying a lot of beast skins. They were obviously from the celestial sect. The guards at the city gate didn't dare to stop them. The army slowly entered the city. At this moment, there was a scholarly man holding a feather fan on the city gate tower. He revealed a look of surprise. The man was none other than Mr. Monroe. Yin Chuan? Mr. Monroe asked curiously. There were several people standing behind Mr. Monroe. What's wrong? Does Mr. Monroe know these people? Someone asked curiously. An acquaintance. Mr. Monroe nodded. The one with the sword on his back? But he's only at the 2nd level of the profound realm. A person beside him asked curiously. Does my acquaintance have to have a high cultivation level? Mr. Monroe laughed as he waved his feather fan. Oh, is there something special about that person? Shaking his head gently, Mr. Monroe took a deep breath and said, I shouldn't bother him, but the Holy Sun asked me to do something for him, so I'll do my best. Don't bother him. I'll go see him myself after he settles down. See someone at the Profound Realm? Mr. Monroe, is this person worthy of your effort? A person beside him asked curiously. His handwriting is better than mine. Do you think he's worthy? Mr. Monroe laughed. Impossible. Handwriting? He's only at the second level of the Profound Realm. How can his handwriting be compared to yours? Mr. Monroe smiled and didn't explain further. The few of them were astonished. Mr. Monroe, on the other hand, looked towards the city while waving his feather fan. Chapter 262. Liangjing. Yin Chuan led the army and slowly entered the city. Wherever they went, the people would make way for them. Even the cultivators who stayed behind looked at the 3,000 people in surprise. After all, the equipment of this group of people was too strange. It was almost the same. Such a unified group was rare in the major sections. Yin Chuan was about to send someone to inquire about the situation in the city, when he suddenly saw a familiar face. Xiao! A figure instantly appeared in front of Yin Chuan. It was the 3 swordsmen of the Dai sect. Wow, so many demonic beast hides? The 3 swordsmen looked at the beast hides carried by the soldiers in surprise. Xiao-san, why are you here? Yin Chuan asked curiously. Xiao-san? The 3 swordsmen's face fell. Only then did he remember that Yin Chuan was his senior. Uncle Master. Actually, we have been here for a few days. We have been waiting for you. The 3 swordsmen said helplessly. Oh, the 7 of us in Jujiansheng are here. Our master asked us to protect you and increase the sect's merit points. We guessed that it was you guys who did it, but we didn't know where you were. In the end, we decided to wait for you in Liangjing. Sure enough, you really came. The 3 swordsmen said proudly. Protect me? All right, thanks a lot. Yin Chuan smiled faintly. It's my duty. Let's go. We have already picked a good place. Liangjing's flat mountain building. The terrain there is very high and you can overlook the entire city. The 3 swordsmen laughed. All right, can you get rid of these beast hides? Yin Chuan asked. Leave it to me. A large number of cultivators have gathered in Liangjing this time. I know some people from Carefree City who collect all kinds of materials. The 3 swordsmen patted his chest and said, that would be great. Yin Chuan nodded. Under the guidance of the 3 swordsmen, the group walked to the west of Liangjing and arrived at a huge restaurant. Behind the restaurant was a big lake. The 3,000 soldiers washed themselves and rested for the time being. After Yin Chuan took a bath and changed his clothes, he was also led to the restaurant. The restaurant was very spacious, and the people living inside were all high officials and nobles. There were even some cultivators sitting inside. Yin Chuan and his group sat near a window. Lu Jin stood behind Yin Chuan. The 7 swordsmen in Jujiansheng were also sitting at the table. The dining tables were separated by screens. Yin Chuan sipped his tea and looked at the entire Liangjing outside the window. There was a group of palaces in the north and south of Liangjing, and all of them were incomparably majestic. Which side is the imperial palace? Yin Chuan asked curiously. Marshal uncle, you don't know this, but Liang capital's terrain is extremely unique. Because it's close to the Demon Wind mountain range, many cultivators will stop here. Just like our flat mountain pavilion, it's actually specially built for cultivators. A temporary place to stay. The 3 swordsmen said immediately. Yin Chuan nodded. Because cultivators stop here, Liangjing is also quite prosperous. The one in the north is the Liang Kingdom's imperial palace, and the one in the south is called the Immortal Palace. It's a place for some important cultivators to stay. It was specially built by the Liang Kingdom's emperor to please the cultivators. It's as majestic as the imperial palace. The 3 swordsmen explained. Are all the dynasties in the world trying to please the sects? Yin Chuan frowned. Of course. Dynasties can't collect merits. Other than having a lot of mortals, what else can they do? The 4 swordsmen nodded. Yin Chuan nodded and said no more. However, he was getting more and more confused. Right, Marshal uncle, you might not know, but something big has happened in the Demon Wind mountain range. At this moment, a large number of disciples from various sects have gathered in Liangjing. They are all going to enter the Demon Wind mountain range. The 3 swordsmen said with envy. Chapter 263. Oh, why? It's a heaven-level cultivation technique. The most powerful technique in the Day sect is only of the earth level. A heaven-level cultivation technique can even become the treasure of a middle-level sect. Many people have risked their lives to search for it. The three swordsmen said, heaven-level cultivation technique? Then why are there still so many people in Liangjing? Because the Holy Sun of the Dazhao Holy Ground is here. Many cultivators responded to the Holy Sun's summons. As long as you help the Holy Sun find the heaven-level cultivation technique, the Holy Sun will give you 10 earth-level cultivation techniques. Think about it. How can a heaven-level cultivation technique be so easy to get? However, as long as you follow the Holy Sun and find some information, you can get the earth-level cultivation technique. Who wouldn't want it? The three swordsmen said. All the cultivators in the city follow the orders of the Holy Sun? Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. The Holy Sun is amazing. The Guyu Holy Sun of the Dazhao Holy Ground is rumored to have become an emptiness realm expert 100 years ago. He has many powerful subordinates and countless talents. The three swordsmen explained. Oh right, the Guyu Holy Sun is now living in the Immortal Palace. Zhu Jiansheng said. While they were talking, the waiter of the hotel walked over. Sorry to disturb you. May I know which one of you is Yan Chuan? The waiter asked respectfully. What's the matter? Yan Chuan asked in confusion. Someone claims to be your friend and wants to see you. The waiter said respectfully. Oh, who is it? Yan Chuan was slightly confused. Prince Yan, long time no see. A bright voice sounded. When Ruo, dressed in white, walked out from behind the waiter with a feather fan in her hand. Mr. Monroe? Zhu Jiansheng and the others were surprised. When Ruo nodded at the crowd. Then she turned to look at Yan Chuan. Oh, it's Mr. Monroe. Excuse me for not going out to meet you. Please come in. Yan Chuan stood up and greeted him. When Ruo nodded and walked over. Everyone, I would like to speak to Yan Chuan alone. Is it possible? When Ruo looked at Zhu Jiansheng and the others and said, no problem. I'll sit at the table next to you. Everyone said politely. At the same time, they all looked at Wen Ruo in surprise. They didn't expect him to come here. Yan Chuan frowned slightly but didn't say anything. Have a seat, Yan Chuan said. When Ruo nodded and sat down, Lu Jin poured tea for them. It seems that Mr. Monroe didn't come here to catch up with me, Yan Chuan said with a smile as he sipped his tea. We're here to catch up, and we also have something to discuss. When Ruo said naturally, it's good to catch up. Mr. Monroe is still as handsome as ever. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly and said, Prince Yan, you're too kind. Last time you were with the saint. This time you're with the Holy Sun. Mr. Monroe seems to be very popular in the Dazhao Holy Ground. Yan Chuan said with a smile. You're busy. Prince Yan, don't you want to know about the saint? Mr. Monroe said with a smile. Emoyushi. How is she now? Yan Chuan asked with a serious face. It's a perfect battle. She has handed the Million Wonders demonic lotus to Mohina Dojin. Moreover, her cultivation is about to break through. When we came out, she was in seclusion. Qing Long and the others were guarding her. Mr. Monroe said, breakthrough? Her cultivation is indeed fast. Yan Chuan nodded his head. Hehe, it seems that I've underestimated you. Mr. Monroe said with a strange smile. Oh, Meng Rongrong is my sister. You made her very angry last time. Mr. Monroe said with a smile. Chapter 264. Your sister? So, you're the eldest son of the Julu Academy? Yan Chuan was slightly surprised. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly and shook his head. It's all in the past. Let's not talk about it. Okay. Yan Chuan nodded and stopped talking about it. I've seen your wisdom and knowledge in the feng shui formation. I'd like to ask for your help this time. Mr. Monroe said after some thought. Help? Guyu Holy Sun has brought a group of powerhouses from the Dazhao Holy Ground, and even recruited a large number of powerhouses from the surrounding sections. He's going to enter the Devilish Wind Mountains with a promise of great benefits. I'd like to invite you along. Mr. Monroe said directly. Promise of great benefits? Yan Chuan asked curiously. You should have heard that Guyu Holy Sun promised 10 Earth-level techniques for a Heaven-level technique, Mr. Monroe said. Yin Chuan took a sip of tea and smiled. Heaven-level techniques? Is that so? Why? You don't believe me? Mr. Monroe smiled. How do you expect me to believe you? Thousands of monsters are fleeing. Is this the sign of a heaven-level technique? This is the territory of the demonic beasts. Those demonic beasts are fleeing in all directions in fear. What do you think it is? Yin Chuan laughed. Mr. Monroe's face stiffened. Then he smiled bitterly. I knew I couldn't hide it from you. Something big must have happened in the Devilish Wind Mountains. I'm sure of it. It's extremely dangerous, so dangerous that some monsters don't dare to stay there. Tell me, why would I, an essence state cultivator, go to such a dangerous place with you? If there are benefits, I won't get them. If there's a disaster, I'll be the first to suffer. Am I right? Yin Chuan smiled. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly and nodded. I was too rash. I should be the one thanking you. At the very least, you didn't let Guyu Holy Sun recruit me. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Mr. Monroe sighed and shook his head. Actually, even now, I don't know what's inside. Oh, Guyu Holy Sun still doesn't trust me. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly. Yin Chuan looked at Mr. Monroe in surprise. Haha. Mr. Monroe laughed casually. He picked up his teacup and continued to drink his tea. Yin Chuan also picked up his teacup and drank his tea as he looked at the vast Liangjing. Yin Chuan's eyes suddenly narrowed. Two figures suddenly appeared on the roof of the largest palace in the Liangjing Imperial Palace. Of the two figures, one wore a green robe, had a prominent forehead bone, and stood with his hands behind his back. His face was pale green, and he was handsome and arrogant. Although he did not release any aura, his entire person gave people a feeling that he was one with heaven and earth. He stood proudly in the wind, and his eyes were full of loftiness. Yin Chuan had seen many people. Although he only saw his appearance, he could tell at a glance that this person was not an ordinary person. Since he woke up in this life, this person had the most powerful aura. Beside him was a yellow-haired man. The man sat cross-legged with a guqin on his knees. Yao Tianshang? Mr. Monroe's expression changed. Yao Tianshang? Who is he? Yin Chuan asked immediately. He's not a human. He's a demon. In the past, he wiped out a middle-level sect by himself. He's a powerful demon from the northern demon tribe. He fought with Guyu Holy Sun a few times. Although they were evenly matched, Yao Tianshang's aura was getting stronger and stronger. Guyu Holy Sun was gradually unable to suppress him. Now he's here again? Something's going to happen. I'm going back. We'll meet again if fate wills it. Mr. Monroe's expression changed. He flew out of the flat mountain inn. Yao Tianshang? Yin Chuan looked curiously at the arrogant green-robed demon. Chapter 265. I will climb to the top and look down on all the other mountains. Yao Tianshang stood on top of the Forbidden City, as he stared coldly in the direction of the Immortal Palace in the south. King Spider. Yao Tianshang smiled faintly. The yellow-haired man sitting cross-legged at the side immediately nodded and said, Yes, my lord. As he spoke, he gently placed his hands on the guqin, as if he was about to play it. Flat Mountain Inn. After Mr. Monroe left, Zhu Jiansheng and the others surrounded them again. 8 fingers. Zhu Jiansheng looked in surprise at the yellow-haired man playing the zither in the distance. He's a spider demon. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Spider demon? Great demon? A virtual realm great demon? Zhu Jiansheng's expression immediately changed. The emptiness realm. That's right, it was the emptiness realm. However, Yin Chuan valued Yao Tianshang more. Judging from the spider demon's attitude, it seemed like it was completely subservient to Yao Tianshang. Wang Zhu stroked his guqin. He waved his hands outwards. The rapid sound of the zither immediately rang out. Clink, clink, clink. The sound of needles piercing suddenly resounded throughout the entire Liangjing. My ears. I can't hear you. Countless commoners suddenly rolled on the ground in pain. Suddenly, the roof of the Immortal Palace exploded. Hong! A large number of practitioners flew into the sky from all directions of the celestial palace. They all looked at the top of the forbidden city in surprise. Who would have thought that someone would dare to provoke the holy sun? This is a sound technique? Zhu Jiansheng exclaimed in surprise. In the direction of the celestial palace, about 200 cultivators flew into the sky. They all pulled out their long swords, and their faces were gloomy. And at the top of the most majestic palace of the Immortal Palace, 10 people slowly walked up. 7 of them were sitting cross-legged with a guqin placed on their knees. There were 3 people in the center. The leader was dressed in a golden robe and wore a crane-shaped golden crown on his head. His eyes were cold as if he was looking down on the world. The man's aura was equally powerful. The 2 people behind him were dressed in purple, as if they were his subordinates. Yao Tianshang, you still dare to come? The man with the golden crown said in a deep voice. At the top of the forbidden city, Yao Tianshang's face flashed with arrogance as he said, "Why wouldn't I dare to come? Guyu, I'm here to give you merit this time." Merit? Guyu Holy Sun said coldly. Of course. Spider King, let's begin. Yao Tianshang said solemnly. Yes. King Spider nodded with an evil smile. Cling 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 cling. His hands quickly strummed the guqin. Suddenly, a large amount of guqin music radiated in all directions. The sounds of the guqin were like overlapping white waves. They were faintly discernible in the void as they swept toward the Immortal Palace. Rumble. Layers of huge waves washed across the sky. Wherever the huge waves passed, Liangjing was hit by an unprecedented storm. Under the sound of the zither, countless buildings collapsed rapidly. Ah! My head hurts. My head hurts. Under the sound of the zither, it was as if they could not take it anymore. All of the commoners were rolling on the ground. 7 guqin attendants. Guyu Holy Sun said in a deep voice. Yes. The 7 guqin masters sitting at the side quickly strummed their guqin. Cling cling cling. Cling cling cling. The 7 of them played their guqin at the same time. In an instant, the sound of the 7 guqin masters formed tangible sound waves that crashed towards King Spider's guqin waves. Hong! Chapter 266. When the 2 guqin waves collided, there was a loud crash. Where the guqin waves intersected, a huge tornado was formed. The powerful impact swept across the entire Liang capital and spread in all directions. Boom! All the houses in Yin capital collapsed. Even the flat mountain restaurant that Yan Chuan was in was shaking, and many of the screens inside fell down. Many customers ran out of the restaurant in fear. 7 guqin servants, that's all you got. Haha, let me teach you what a real guqin is. Wang Zhu said with an evil smile. Dong 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 dong. As soon as the sound changed, Wang Zhu's guqin waves increased by more than 10 times. Wave after wave rushed out and suppressed the music of the 7 guqin servants. At the same time, rays of light appeared in Wang Zhu's guqin waves. Hum! 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 Among the zither waves, long sabers that were abnormally bright suddenly appeared. There were about 1 million sabers in total. The sabers immediately pointed towards the divine palace. Go, the waves are surging. Ha ha ha! Wang Zhu laughed. Boom! The millions of long sabers formed by the guqin waves suddenly turned into a huge storm of sabers and swept towards the opposite side. Wherever the storm of sabers passed, the sound was ear-piercing again. Hum! Countless people lost their sight. Ordinary people covered their heads and rolled on the ground. Even the cultivators who flew into the sky at the beginning vomited blood and fell to the ground. Ding! Ding! The sound of guqin spread in all directions and covered the entire Liang capital. Ah! The painful cries of the embroidered uniform army came from the backyard where Yan Chuan was. The 3,000 embroidered uniform army also felt their ears explode. Ah! My ears are so piercing. The 3 swordsmen also exclaimed. I can't cover it. I can still hear it if I cover my ears. Zhu Jiansheng said with a pale face. Wang Wang. Lu Jin covered her ears in pain. It's useless. The sound of guqin doesn't need to go through the ears. It can enter the brain. Yin Chuan said. King, the old slave is dying. Lu Jin fell to the ground in pain. Achilles seal, heart seal. Yin Chuan shouted. Yes. Lu Jin painfully quickly formed the Akala seal. While forming the seal, Lu Jin chanted an incantation. Her whole body trembled, and bean-sized beads of sweat fell from her face. However, after forming the Akala seal, Lu Jin immediately felt better. At least she wasn't in as much pain as before. Why, Your Majesty? Hua Guang led 3,000 members of the embroidered uniform army to the front of the flat mountain inn. Akala seal, heart seal. Yin Chuan ordered. Yes. Hua Guang and the 3,000 members of the embroidered uniform army quickly formed hand seals. Akala suppressed the demonic sound from entering their ears. Help! My ears! In Liangjing, not only the common people, but countless cultivators were also covering their ears in pain. Millions of Guqin blades swept across Yanjing and rushed towards the heavenly palace. The 7 Guqin attendants were all shocked. They played the Guqin even faster. Virum. Under the Guqin music, the 7 of them formed a huge hemispherical shield in front of the heavenly palace. Rumble. The Guqin blades slashed on the hemispherical shield. A deafening sound of impact pierced the 9 heavens and suppressed everything. Chapter 267. The sound waves crashed into each other. The common people were dying. The Essence Realm cultivators were rolling on the ground in dissatisfaction, and the Qi Realm cultivators were clutching their heads in pain, trying to escape. But where could they go now? The ground was shaking. If they tried to escape, they would be hit by more sound waves, and the sky would be filled with cultivators who fell to the ground, vomiting blood. The 7 Zither attendants all vomited blood on their Gyukins. They couldn't hold on any longer. Ha ha, I have stronger ones here. How can you call yourself the 7 Zither attendants? Wang Zhu laughed arrogantly. At this moment, Mr. Monroe arrived at the heavenly palace. Mr. Monroe, play the Guqin. Guyu shouted. Guyu Holy Sun wasn't afraid of the Guqin, but it was a battle between their subordinates. Guyu Holy Sun had to keep an eye on Yao Tianchang, so he couldn't make a move. Holy Sun, I'm not good at Gyukins. I'll try my best. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly. As he spoke, Mr. Monroe took out a Guqin and sat down cross-legged. Dong 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 dong. As Mr. Monroe played, the 7 Zither attendants seemed to have been helped by the gods. They were at a disadvantage. As soon as Wen Ruo started to play her zither, waves of zither music rushed out and strengthened the protective shield. But they could only defend. Zhu Jiansheng and the others cried out in pain. Just like Hua Guang used the Akalanatha seal, Yin Chuan instructed. Okay. The 7 swordsmen and Zhu Jiansheng quickly imitated Hua Guang and used the Akalanatha seal. Yin Chuan was able to resist all the demonic sounds because of his strong will as an emperor in his previous life. The ground around the flat mountain building was shaking, but the building was strangely becoming more and more stable. Yin Chuan looked around in surprise. The flat mountain building was surrounded by cultivators who were rolling on the ground. However, there was one exception. The screens inside the flat mountain building had all collapsed. Yin Chuan saw a black-robed man sitting peacefully by a window not far away. Azure clouds were embroidered on his black robes, making him look extremely mysterious. The man sat by the window with a glass of wine in his hand. As he drank, he admired the battle between the two sides. At the feet of the black-robed man, Yin Chuan saw a round wheel. The image of the 8 trigrams appeared around the wheel. The wheel seemed to have appeared out of thin air as it spun slowly. The entire flat mountain became more and more stable. Feng Shui master? Yin Chuan's eyes lit up. Stepping on the ground to form a wheel. This was no ordinary Feng Shui master. With Yin Chuan's keen eyes, he could tell at a glance that this person was calm and powerful. Taking a deep breath, Yin Chuan stepped forward. I am Yin Chuan. May I know your name? Yin Chuan asked solemnly. The black-robed man was completely wrapped in the black robes. His face could not be seen clearly, but he continued drinking his wine. I am Yin Chuan. May I know your name? Yin Chuan asked solemnly. At this moment, the black-robed man glanced at Yin Chuan. However, the brim of his hat was pitch black like an abyss. Yin Chuan could not see his face clearly. Essence Realm. The black-robed man's voice was slightly hoarse. I am Yin Chuan. May I know your name? Yin Chuan asked again with a smile. This is the Spider King's 8 Sky Demon notes. If you can last until the end, I will tell you. The black-robed man said with a hoarse voice. Do you know the Spider King? Yin Chuan asked curiously. No, but I have seen him use this guqin to kill an emptiness realm expert. The Spider King was originally a formidable person. I did not expect him to submit to Yao Tianchong. The black-robed man said in a deep voice. Sir, may I sit down and have a drink? Yin Chuan asked with a smile. You can resist the demonic notes with your essence realm cultivation. You are quite something. Sit down. The black-robed man said calmly. Chapter 268. To be able to resist this demonic sound with your essence realm cultivation, you're quite something. Take a seat. The black-robed man said calmly. Yin Chuan swayed the corner of his robe and slowly sat down. Looking at the black-robed man, Yin Chuan smiled. Yin Chuan's purpose in entering the cultivation world this time was to recruit all kinds of talents. Although the feng shui master in front of him did nothing or said anything, Yin Chuan could see that he was extraordinary at a glance. Yin Chuan was thirsty for talents, so he treated them with respect. However, from the black-robed man's words, Yin Chuan could feel a sense of rejection. Do you want to recruit now? What an idiotic dream. He was just a practitioner at the bottom of the refined state. How could he make the powerful feng shui master work for him? Moreover, it was a path that no one had taken before. Since he couldn't summon them, what was the point of talking about grand ambitions? What a joke. To Yin Chuan, an unequal conversation had no value at all. It would be better if he did not say anything. However, Yin Chuan still sat down. It was for no other reason than to express his attitude and establish good karma. In the future, he would slowly display his strength and convince this expert. Picking up another glass of wine, Yin Chuan drank while watching the battle outside. The black-robed man was surprised. Yin Chuan had introduced himself 3 times in a row just now in order to get close to him. Now he had just sat down and he had stopped talking? The black-robed man looked at Yin Chuan strangely, but his attention was quickly drawn to the battle outside. At the top of the Forbidden City, Spider King's zither continued to play, as if he couldn't hear the wails of the city. He looked into the distance and played the zither continuously, faster and faster. The guqin attacks were getting stronger and stronger. Yao Tianchong stood beside King Spider as a cold smile appeared on his face. Guyu, this is a gift of merit for you. The lives of all the people in the city will depend on your ability. Yao Tianchong laughed coldly. In the east, my Dazhao holy ground is the sky. Yao Tianchong, do you really want to leave your life in the east? Guyu Holy Sun said in a low voice. Stay? The world is so big. Who can stop me? The Demon Wind Mountain Range belongs to us demons. Remember to tell the Dao Lords of the Dazhao sacred ground that the wrath of the demons will result in corpses for thousands of miles. This city is the example of the Dazhao sacred ground. Yao Tianchong said coldly. Role model? Guyu Holy Sun snorted coldly. King Spider. Yao Tianchong said solemnly. Yes. King Spider replied. King Spider suddenly turned the zither in his hand. Boom 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 boom. The sound of the zither was dull, as if one could vaguely hear the sound of war drums. Roar! 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 Countless phantoms suddenly appeared in the area covered by Wang Spider's guqin music. At first there were only sabers, but now each saber had a master. One by one, the armored skeletons opened their mouths and roared angrily. Each one of them held a large saber and charged toward the opposite Immortal Palace. Roar! The 1,000,000 skeletons grabbed their large sabers and roared as they swept out. The entire world was filled with the sound of death. It swept towards the opposite Immortal Palace. Boom! Boom! Like a surging river, it rushed toward the barrier. Buzz! The sound barrier created by Mr. Monroe and the 7 zither attendants shook as if it would shatter at any moment. Ha 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 ha! King Spider continued to play excitedly, faster and faster, more and more ferocious. Bam! 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 Under the powerful sound wave, a large number of people in Liangjing exploded. His sound technique became stronger and stronger. Chapter 269. Ah! Countless cultivators in the city cried out in pain. Even the Qi realm cultivators were rolling on the ground in pain. The pain was getting worse. The embroidered uniform army members sitting cross-legged in the flat mountain building couldn't bear the pain even though they were holding the Akalanatha seal. Their faces were contorted in pain and they were covered in sweat. One of them even foamed at the mouth. The embroidered uniform army members were swaying. They couldn't hold on any longer. Whoosh! Yin Chuan suddenly stood up. It wasn't easy for him to bring the embroidered uniform army out. How could he let them die here? Ferocious tiger army formation! Yin Chuan shouted. The embroidered uniform army members who were in pain heard Yin Chuan's words and immediately became spirited. They formed hand seals and stood up with difficulty. They stood out of the formation with difficulty. Puff! Puff! A dozen embroidered uniform army members spat out blood. They were injured by the sound technique. Yin Chuan stepped in front of the fierce tiger army formation. Bang! A large amount of blood and qi gushed out from the embroidered uniform army members and formed a huge tiger with the help of the formation. Yin Chuan's blood and qi condensed into the tiger's eyes. Wind follows the tiger, roar to the sky. Yin Chuan shouted. Roar! Yin Chuan and the 3,000 embroidered uniform army members roared at the sky at the same time. The blood-red tiger formed by the formation also stomped on the ground and roared at the top of the forbidden city. Roar! Roar! The tiger's roar pierced the 9 heavens. Moreover, the tiger's roar was very long. The more it roared, the louder it became. It wasn't as moving as the sound of the zither. It was just a barbaric roar that seemed to want to tear the sky apart. The huge roar formed a sound wave that rushed towards the top of the forbidden city. The tiger's roar was like a sharp sword that tore through the zither waves and rushed towards the unprepared Spider King. King Spider looked at the sound technique that appeared out of nowhere in surprise. This sound technique was not powerful. In the past, King Spider would not even care about it. But now, King Spider's sound technique was almost all concentrated on the front line, in the direction of the Immortal Palace. Millions of skeletal soldiers were like a long river, breaking the dam on the opposite side. This sound technique that suddenly came from the side caught the King Spider off guard. You're courting death. The King Spider glared. His fingers moved slightly. A Guqin wave came and collided with the tiger's roar. Hong! Guqin waves and sound techniques collided, creating a huge storm. A strong rebounding force was emitted, and the blood qi tiger exploded with a loud bang. Ah! Ah! The 3,000 soldiers were also sent flying by the shockwave, crashing into the flat mountain inn with a loud bang. Poof! 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 The members of the embroidered uniform army all spat out blood, heavily injured and dispirited. Ding! A crisp sound came from the top of the forbidden city. Rumble! The vast demon skeleton army exploded with a loud boom. Under the huge explosion, the Guqin wave barrier in the distance also exploded. Poof! Poof! The 7 zither attendants were sent flying while spitting out blood. Mr. Monroe barely blocked the impact. Although he didn't spit out blood, his insides were churning from the impact. His face turned red, and he looked at the top of the forbidden city in surprise. Chapter 270. On the summit of the forbidden city, Spider King stood up with an unsightly expression. Spider King was not injured at all. The only difference was the Guqin in his hand. One of the strings of the Guqin had snapped during the tiger roar. As soon as the zither string was broken, the great sound disaster was completely over. When the music stopped, the surroundings suddenly became quiet. At the same time, almost everyone turned to look at the flat mountain inn. The flat mountain inn was in a mess. Countless cultivators were still rolling on the ground in pain. Even the 3,000 members of the embroidered uniform army were severely injured. Only Huguang was in a better condition. He endured his injuries and walked to stand behind Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan stood in front of the flat mountain inn and stared coldly at the summit of the forbidden city. At this moment, everyone was looking at Yin Chuan. Yao Tianshang was no exception. The two of them looked at each other. Yao Tianshang squinted his eyes. Yao Tianshang was also a powerful person. He saw a domineering aura in Yin Chuan's eyes. A powerful domineering aura. A domineering aura that he had never seen before? An essence realm cultivator? How could he bear such a domineering gaze? Yin Chuan squinted his eyes as well. Arrogance. Absolute arrogance. Yin Chuan had never seen such arrogance in Yao Tianxiang's eyes. Even in his previous life, Yin Chuan had never seen such an arrogant gaze. Yin Chuan's evaluation of Yao Tianxiang rose again. As the two of them looked at each other, a voice suddenly rang out. Yao Tianxiang, your Guqin waves are broken. Don't you remember what I said? Gu Yu's cold voice rang out. This time Yao Tianxiang shifted his gaze to Gu Yu Holy Sun, who was far away. Yao Tianxiang sneered and did not answer Gu Yu Holy Sun. Spider King, let's go. Yao Tianxiang said indifferently. Yes. Spider King nodded. Before leaving, Yao Tianxiang glanced at Yin Chuan again. He frowned and pondered for a while. Then he shot toward the northwest Wind Demon Mountain. Yao Tianxiang and Spider King, the two Emptiness Realm experts, disappeared before everyone's eyes. The once prosperous Liangjing had now become a pile of ruins. There were countless casualties. Even if they were still alive, they were still in pain and wouldn't be able to recover in a short time. Yao Tianxiang and King Spider left. On the other side, Gu Yu Holy Sun also stared at Yin Chuan. As he took a step forward, his figure flashed and appeared in front of Yin Chuan. Following Gu Yu Holy Sun were two purple-robed men. The purple-robed men were expressionless, as if they were Gu Yu Holy Sun's lackeys. With the arrival of Gu Yu Holy Sun, more and more experts flew over from behind. Yin Chuan glanced at the flat mountain inn. At that moment, the black-robed man in the flat mountain inn had disappeared. Yin Chuan frowned and sighed in his heart. He turned to look at the ancient moon Holy Sun who was flying over. Gu Yu Holy Sun was also looking around. Looking at the group of people lying on the ground in pain, a trace of confusion appeared on his face. Swoosh! Mr. Monroe came closer. Holy Sun, this is Yin Chuan, the son of Yin Tao? Mr. Monroe introduced. Yin Tao's son? Ha ha ha, like father, like son. Gu Yu Holy Sun looked at Yin Chuan with a scrutinizing expression. Gu Yu Holy Sun, you flatter me. Yin Chuan smiled faintly. Flatter? You helped me, the Holy Sun, defeat the two demons just now. Who else could have done that? I have to thank you for this defeat. Gu Yu Holy Sun smiled faintly. Oh, thank you, Gu Yu Holy Sun. My subordinates were all injured by Qin Lang. Gu Yu Holy Sun is the Holy Sun of the Dazhao Holy Land. You must have good medicine to treat them. If you want to thank me, just heal my subordinates. Yin Chuan smiled faintly. Huh. The surrounding practitioners were puzzled. No one expected Yin Chuan to really ask for something. You're too direct. Can't you be more polite? The Holy Sun's reward was much better than this. Only Mr. Monroe's eyes flashed with a hint of appreciation. Yin Chuan did this to draw a clear line between him and Gu Yu Holy Sun. If you want to thank me, I'll ask for something by name. He was very direct. He turned the help just now into a business deal. In this way, Gu Yu Holy Sun would not be able to get close to him. Chapter 271. Fengyinyang. Gu Yu Holy Sun looked at Yin Chuan in surprise. That's easy. I have a bottle of divine dew rain. It can help them recover immediately. Gu Yu Holy Sun smiled. As he spoke, he took out a small bottle and gently poured it out. Under Gu Yu Holy Sun's control, the divine dew rain floated in the air. Gu Yu Holy Sun waved his hand gently. Bang! The divine dew rain was instantly dispersed and rushed into the bodies of the people who were rolling on the ground. Instantly, everyone's pain was alleviated. Tell everyone to sit down and meditate. Yin Chuan said to Hu Guang. Yes. Hu Guang quickly went forward and ordered the embroidered uniform army to sit down and meditate. Holy Sun, you're swift and decisive. Yin Chuan is impressed. Yin Chuan said with a smile. I've heard about you. Gu Yu Holy Sun smiled at Yin Chuan. Oh, they say you're very smart. My palace Gu Yu needs talents like you. Mr. Monroe should have told you about our trip to the Demon Wind Mountains, right? Gu Yu Holy Sun said with a smile. Mr. Monroe raised his eyebrows and immediately turned to look at a man in a Taoist robe. His eyes were spitting fire. Yin Chuan roughly understood the situation when he saw Mr. Monroe's expression. Following Mr. Monroe's gaze, Yin Chuan also looked at the man. He was a rugged man with narrow eyes that glowed from time to time. When he looked at Yin Chuan, there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. "Who is this?" Yin Chuan asked curiously. Guyu Holy Sun looked at Yin Chuan in surprise. Yin Chuan actually found the person who reported to him in an instant? "This is the leader of the Life League. He's my friend Immortal Wei Qian," Guyu Holy Sun said. "The leader of the Life League, Immortal Wei Qian? So it's the Life League. Ha ha ha," Yin Chuan said with a smile. "The Life League? Few days. He had just killed 5 Qi Realm warriors from the League. You know him?" Guyu Holy Sun asked. Was confused. Guyu Holy Sun. Guyu Holy Sun. Guyu Holy Sun is Guyu. I Gu Y and Sun. You as Y. Oh. Guyu Holy Sun squinted his eyes. Looking at Wei Qian and Yin Chuan, Guyu Holy Sun smiled and said, "If that's the case, I won't force you. Guyu will remember the help you gave me today. If you have any problems in the future, you can find me at the Dazhao Holy Sun." Yin Chuan nodded. "Inform everyone to head to the Demon Wind Mountain Range immediately." Guyu Holy Sun turned around and said, "Yes." Everyone answered. As Guyu Holy Sun spoke, he soared into the sky. A cloud appeared under his feet. Everyone followed him. Some of them quickly returned to the Immortal Palace and gathered a large number of cultivators. All of them headed towards the Demon Wind Mountain Range. Those who could fly followed behind Guyu Holy Sun. Those who couldn't fly jumped on the ground and followed him. There were thousands of cultivators in the group. More than half of the cultivators in Liangjing left with Guyu Holy Sun. Watching Guyu Holy Sun leave, Yin Chuan pondered for a moment. The alliance leader of the Life League, Wei Qian? Yin Chuan squinted his eyes. While everyone was enjoying the nourishment of the divine dew rain, Yin Chuan returned to the table where the black-robed man was sitting. The black-robed man had already left. However, he left 3 words on the table. The 3 words were left behind with wine. "Feng Yinyang, Feng Yinyang? Your name is Feng Yinyang?" Yin Chuan looked at the 3 words in confusion. With a gentle wave of his hand, Yin Chuan wiped away the words written on the wine on the table and smiled. At least he now knew the name of this feng shui master. Feng Yinyang. Chapter 272. Yin Chuan walked out of the flat mountain and slowly. Everyone was still recuperating. Yin Chuan looked at the entire Liang capital. Liang capital had been turned into a pile of ruins. Only a few people who were still alive were rolling on the ground in pain. Yin Chuan didn't feel that Yao Tianshang was in the wrong in this battle. After all, they stood from different perspectives and saw different problems. Humans cherished human lives, and demons cherished demon lives. Wiping out an entire city of civilians was like killing a bunch of demonic beasts. It was a normal thing. However, Yao Tianshang was not ordinary. A great demon from the north dared to provoke a sacred ground in the east? Whoosh! Whoosh! A large number of cultivators flew into Liang capital from all directions. All of them were shocked. What exactly happened in Liang capital? Was it destroyed? Yin Chuan ignored them and waited for his subordinates to get up. The first ones to get up were Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen. After all, the 8 of them had higher cultivation. Phew, what a powerful divine dew rain. I'm fully recovered. Nonsense. You couldn't have enjoyed that in the past. Everyone was talking at once. Zhu Jiansheng walked to Yin Chuan with a strange expression. "Martial uncle, you're fine?" Zhu Jiansheng asked with a complicated expression. Yin Chuan smiled and did not say anything. "Martial uncle, I didn't expect your 3,000 embroidered uniform army to be able to use sound techniques. That's amazing." The 3 swordsmen laughed. "Yeah, I didn't expect them to be so powerful. Martial uncle, something big must have happened in Demon Wind Mountain Range. Why don't we go in and take a look?" The 4 swordsmen said with anticipation. As soon as the 4 swordsmen spoke, everyone looked at Yin Chuan with anticipation. "Why? Do you want to go in?" Yin Chuan laughed. "Of course. With so many experts going in, something big must have happened. The 8 of us should join in the fun. Even if we can't get what's inside, we can at least take a look." The 3 swordsmen said immediately. "Then why don't you go in?" Yin Chuan asked in confusion. Alas, we also want to, but our master won't let us. The four swordsmen said helplessly. However, martial uncle, if you are willing to go in, then we can go in. The three swordsmen had a fawning expression. Oh, our master can't stop you. Master told us to protect you. Wherever you go, we will go. As long as you go, we can go. The three swordsmen laughed. That's right. Martial uncle, why don't we go and take a look as well? Everyone nodded. Go away. Yin Chuan laughed and shouted. Thousands of demons have escaped from Demon Wind Mountain Range. Wouldn't we be courting death if we went in? We just need to kill the escaping demon beasts in the periphery. Yin Chuan said with certainty. Don't, uncle, listen to me. The three swordsmen tried to persuade him. Ming! Ming! Suddenly 2 crisp and long cries resounded throughout the entire Liangjing. Everyone looked up. A green light flashed in the distance. The green light came from the horizon and arrived above Liangjing in the blink of an eye. That's fast, Zhu Jianxing said in surprise. The green light stopped in the air and everyone could see it clearly. It was 2 green birds that were about 30 meters long. The green birds were extremely beautiful and emitted a gentle green light. Green Luan? It's a green Luan? The 3 swordsmen said in surprise. The 2 green Luans flapped their wings and floated in the air. At the same time, they were pulling a white limousine. Chapter 273. Zhu Jiansheng exclaimed in surprise. Green Luan pulling the carriage. Who exactly is inside? The carriage was like a huge house, but it was surrounded by a platform. 10 men stood on the platform. The 10 men's faces were very old-fashioned and expressionless. In front of the white carriage there was a curtain. It was as if 2 maids were slowly pulling the curtain apart. Kakaka. The 10 old-fashioned men knelt on one knee and respectfully waited for the person to walk out of the house. This scene surprised many people. Who exactly was inside the carriage that was pulled by the green Luan? Slowly, a woman in white walked out from the carriage. The woman was wearing a white veil, which made her look like a holy lotus flower. The woman held a jade flute in her hand and slowly stepped onto the platform. The gentle breeze blew the woman's hair, making her look extremely beautiful. The woman's face was fair and white, and she was extremely beautiful. Even though she was not as exceptional as Meng Rongrong, she was more elegant and refined. It made people hold their breaths when they looked at her, and they did not want to disturb her. I'm late. Let's continue on our way. The woman said softly. Caw, caw. The 2 green Luan seemed to understand human language and let out a long caw. At the flat mountain inn, Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen looked at the holy woman, not wanting to disturb her. Only Yin Chuan's eyes were moist, and his whole body was trembling. Rower? Are you Rower? Yin Chuan looked at the holy woman on the green Luan carriage in disbelief. I'm Zhen Ro. What's your name? Who wants you to send flowers? I don't like it. Why don't I keep one? Be your wife. Dream on. Hubby Roer wants to eat the ice heart lotus seed. Hubby Roer will definitely give birth to a baby for you. No, give birth to 10 babies. I'll give birth to 10 babies for you. I don't. It's broad daylight. How can you? Hubby, my father prepared this for me. I heard it's delicious. Let me feed you. Hubby Roer will be leaving first. You must take care of yourself. Husband, I still remember the 3 lives flower you gave me that day. It was so beautiful, so beautiful, so beautiful. Zhen Ro, Yin Chuan's wife in his previous life. Yin Chuan's eyes gradually moistened as he recalled the past. The scene gradually froze in his mind. Zhen Ro had fallen into his arms, blood flowing from her mouth. Ro, you're still alive? Otherwise, why would you appear before me? You're alive too? Yin Chuan lost control of his emotions as he looked at the pure and holy woman on the blue phoenix carriage. Ming! The green Luan let out a long cry. Its body emitted a green light that shrouded the caravan behind it as it shot toward the Demon Wind Mountain Range. Ro! Yin Chuan roared in shock. Yin Chuan wished he could rush up and stop the blue phoenix carriage, but he was only in the essence realm. How could he stop it? Swish! The blue phoenix pulled the carriage and shot into the Demon Wind Mountain Range in an instant. Ro! Yin Chuan roared. Uncle Master, what's wrong? Zhu Jiansheng and the rest quickly supported Yan Chuan. Me? Yan Chuan came back to his senses and looked at the surprised Zhu Jiansheng and the rest. He ignored them and looked in the direction where the blue phoenix left with a trace of joy and bitterness on his face. He took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. Uncle Master, you called her rower? Do you know her? Who is she? Zhu Jiansheng asked curiously. Yan Chuan shook his head. She's a very important person to me. Since you want to enter the Demon Wind Mountain Range, all right, let's go together. Really? Everyone was delighted. Yan Chuan looked into the distance with reluctance. He took a deep breath and said, however, we can't go in like this. We have to be fully prepared. Prepared? That's right. Follow my instructions. Chapter 274. Not bad. Follow my arrangements. Arrangements? Don't worry, as long as we go to the Demon Wind Mountain Range, we will listen to whatever martial uncle says. The three swordsmen were overjoyed. Let me think about it, Yan Chuan said. Yan Chuan stopped talking and returned to the flat mountain inn to drink wine alone. The 3,000 members of the embroidered uniform army slowly recovered from their injuries. Even though they had just recovered from a serious illness, they were all unusually excited. After all, many cultivators had rolled around in pain from the earlier clash of the zither sounds. Not only were they fine, but they had also destroyed this vast sound disaster. They were part of the ferocious tiger army formation. The embroidered uniform army looked at Yan Chuan with admiration. Zhu Jiansheng and the others looked at Yan Chuan in confusion. Yan Chuan looked at the ruins of the city and drank wine alone, as if he was thinking about something. After an hour, Yan Chuan looked at everyone with a determined expression. Zhu Jiansheng, 7 swordsmen. Yan Chuan called out, here. The 8 immediately stepped forward and smiled. Are you really willing to follow my orders? Yan Chuan asked in a deep voice. Of course. The 3 swordsmen answered. Definitely. Zhu Jiansheng said excitedly. Good, I will arrange it for you now. Yan Chuan smiled. Oh, for 5, 6, 7 for swordsmen, I want you to go back to the Black Dragon Swamp where you killed the Flood Dragon. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Ah, at the bottom of the Black Dragon Swamp, you said there is a big hole that leads to the Demon Wind Mountain Range, right? Yan Chuan asked. That's right. What are we going to do there? The 7 swordsmen asked in confusion. Follow that big hole until you reach the end. Find me the entrance to the Demonic Wind Mountain Range. Enter the Demonic Wind Mountain Range through that big hole, and meet up with me. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Ah, why? The 7 swordsmen were confused. Leave yourself a way out just in case. Yan Chuan said after some thought. Okay. The 4 swordsmen said in surprise. Everyone wanted to go to the Demon Wind Mountain Range, but they did not think too much about it. Martial uncle, the Demon Wind Mountain Range is huge. How are we supposed to find you? Asked the 6 swordsmen, puzzled. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice, don't worry. This time, I'll enter the Demon Wind Mountain Range with a bang. When the time comes, I'll be able to find out what's going on. Ah, everyone was puzzled. Just take care of yourself. Yan Chuan said. Oh, the 4 of them nodded. Zhu Jiansheng, great swordsman, 2nd swordsman and 3rd swordsman. Yan Chuan looked at the 4 people. Martial uncle, what orders do you have? The 4 of them looked at Yan Chuan curiously. Judging from Yan Chuan's first deployment, Yan Chuan's thinking was much more appropriate than his. The 4 of you go and spread the news now. Say that a heaven-class cultivation technique has appeared. Yan Chuan saw it with my own eyes. It was obtained by the owner of a carriage pulled by a pair of green phoenixes. It's in the Demon Wind Mountain Range. They haven't left yet because they're looking for an even greater treasure. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Ah, heaven-class cultivation technique? That lady in white just now? Zhu Jiansheng said in surprise. Everyone looked at Yan Chuan in surprise. Yan Chuan said snappily, of course they didn't get it. Moreover, there might not be any heaven-class cultivation technique in the Demon Wind Mountain Range. Martial uncle, what do you mean by this? Zhu Jiansheng asked in confusion. I still want to see her. Yin Chuan said after taking a deep breath. Ah! Everyone was at a loss. Guyu Holy Sun spread the news that a heaven-class cultivation technique has appeared in the Demon Wind Mountain range. Now I'm just proving it for him. After all, not many cultivators know about this news. Soon, a large number of cultivators will gather here one after another. More and more cultivators will charge into the Demon Wind Mountain range. The news that will make them lose their rationality is the heaven-class cultivation technique. Guyu Holy Sun said so. And now that I'm proving it for him, more people will charge in. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Chapter 275. True experts might not care too much about the heaven-grade cultivation technique. Only those below the God realm would go crazy for it. Of course, those in the early stage of the emptiness realm are also greedy. As long as everyone goes to look for her, I will know where she went. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, that girl didn't get the heaven-grade cultivation technique. If she knows that Martial Uncle is the one who spread the news, she might come to confront Martial Uncle. Zhu Jiansheng followed this train of thought and said, yes, I want to see her. Ask all the cultivators to help me find her. Ask her to come to me. Yin Chuan said with certainty. But will the girl in white be in danger? The three swordsmen asked doubtfully. No, those two blue luans are at the peak of the God realm or the emptiness realm. If she wants to leave, those in the early stage of the emptiness realm can't stop her. She won't be in danger. Yin Chuan shook his head. If she won't be in danger, then Martial Uncle, you will be in danger. Not to mention the girl in white, even some cultivators who don't believe you will come to you and ask. If they fight, won't you? Zhu Jiansheng said worriedly. Yes, Martial Uncle. Are you going to give up your life for a girl? The three swordsmen said strangely. Don't worry. Yin Chuan smiled faintly. The 8 martial nephews felt strange. We will leave in 3 days. In 3 days, spread the news quickly. Say that I saw it with my own eyes. If anyone doesn't believe me, they can come to me at any time. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Oh. Everyone nodded blankly. Oh right, 3 days later? Martial Uncle, will the girl in white leave in 3 days? No, she won't. ZZ said last time that she saw the Holy Son of the Dazhao Holy Land and the Great Demon a few months ago in Carefree City. Obviously it was Gu Yu and Yao Tianshang. They couldn't find the thing inside for a few months. It's impossible for them to find it in 2 or 3 days. Since she rode the blue luan, she must be looking for the thing inside. It must still be inside. Go spread the news. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. Good. All right. Everyone said with complicated expressions. Obviously, Yin Chuan's plan had already exceeded their expectations. At the very least, no one could predict the future. Half a month later, in a huge canyon in the Demon Wind Mountain range. Kill. Fire. Army destroyer. Kill, kill, kill. In the canyon, the sound of fighting soared into the sky. Hu Guang was leading the embroidered army to fight against a pack of demonic wolves. The 3,000 soldiers were fighting in a frenzy. Their bodies were covered in blood, but they were becoming more and more proficient in the art of slaughter. Above the canyon behind Yin Chuan stood Lu Jin, Zhu Jiansheng, Big, second and third swordsmen. Everyone looked at the canyon. Zhu Jiansheng had a strange expression on his face. Martial Uncle, you brought 3,000 soldiers here. Will you be fine? Zhu Jiansheng asked worriedly. Yeah, when it's only you, Martial Uncle, you can think of a way to escape. But there are almost 3,000 people here. If we encounter the Demon King, we won't be able to escape. We will suffer heavy casualties. The third swordsman said with an ugly expression. Who said so? Don't we have people to protect us? Yin Chuan said with a smile. Zhu Jiansheng and the others turned around to look at the surrounding mountains. Sure enough, there were dozens of experts standing on the peaks. They were all Qi realm experts. In the past 2 weeks, more and more people have been following me. Martial Uncle, what should we do? Chapter 276. What are you worried about? Isn't it good for them to protect us in the Demon Wind Mountain range? Yin Chuan smiled. Protect? Everyone looked confused. Yin Chuan ignored them. They continued to watch Huguang fight in the valley. At the peaks of the surrounding mountains, there were indeed many small groups at this moment. 2 white-robed sword cultivators stood on the peak of a small mountain. Senior brother, is what Yan Chuan said true? Yan Chuan said that he made an agreement with the woman in white to get a heaven-class cultivation method and make a copy of it. However, the woman went back on her words, so he brought 3,000 subordinates into the Demon Wind Mountain range to find the woman in white and make her fulfill her promise. The other person said, "But why do I feel that it's fake?" Fake? Is it fake? I think it's real. Oh, if it's fake, would he dare to bring an Essence State cultivator into the Demon Wind Mountain range? There are 3,000 Essence State cultivators there. Wouldn't he be walking into a tiger's den? It must be real if he dares to risk his life to come in. But if it's real, we should go find the woman in white. It should be easy to find her with the Qinghuan carriage. Find her? How? The Demon Wind Mountain range is so big. Where can we find her? Just follow him. Follow Yan Chuan? Why? He doesn't have the item. Are you stupid? Yan Chuan must know how to find the woman in white since he dared to come in. We can find her if we follow him. Of course, the martial uncles will go find the woman in white. We just need to look after Yan Chuan. As long as he's fine, we can definitely find the woman in white. Yes, senior brother is so smart. And what? The woman in white is definitely not easy to deal with. We might not be able to get the heaven-class cultivation method from her. However, as long as Yan Chuan gets the cultivation method, we get it from Yan Chuan? You're so wise, senior brother. Besides, don't you see that the others are not willing to leave? Oh, we're not the only ones who are smart. They can see it clearly as well. If you leave now, you'll be giving up on the heaven tier cultivation technique. You want to leave? No, I'm not leaving. I'll follow. The surrounding Xiuzha all had their own ulterior motives. He looked at Yan Chuan, who was also protecting Yan Chuan. If there was a demon king, the group of experts would attack together. If there was no demon king, the embroidered uniform army would be practicing. For a time, Yan Chuan's team grew larger and larger. Half a month later, Yan Chuan and his group had gathered nearly 100 Qi realm experts. A group of people charged into the depths of the Demon Wind Mountain range, and the number of people in the group was still increasing by the day. More and more. Even if they encountered God Realm beasts along the way, the God Realm beasts were all dumbfounded when they saw the mighty team and turned around to leave. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Yan Chuan sat by a small lake. Boom! The aura emitted from his body caused ripples to appear on the surface of the lake. Third tier of the Essence State? You're breaking through really fast. Zhu Jiansheng said with a smile. It's just along the way. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Zhu Jiansheng and the others were speechless. Alright, it was just along the way. Why couldn't his cultivation be just along the way? Back then he was full and hungry. Your Majesty, Huguang said with a frown. What's wrong? Yan Chuan was puzzled. During this period we've killed too many monsters along the way. If we encounter more monsters we won't have enough time to eat them. It's a burden to bring them along. Huguang said with a frown. Hearing Huguang's words, Zhu Jiansheng wanted to kick him. The demonic beasts ate too much? Too much? When I was cultivating I had no monsters to eat and had to think of other ways. Now you're complaining that it's too much. Let's eat the high-level monsters. First we'll eat the Qi realm monsters we killed. Then we'll eat the monsters at the peak of the Essence State. Just bring 2 days' worth of food. Throw away the rest of the monsters. Yan Chuan said lightly. Yes. Huguang nodded. The 3 swordsmen and the wine sword Immortal turned their heads away to avoid looking at the ugly faces of the nouveau riche. There are many monsters in the Demon Wind Mountain range, but you're too extravagant. Don't mock us like that. Chapter 277. In the Demonic Wind Mountain range. As the news of the heaven-class cultivation technique spread, more and more sects rushed in. Some of them were aiming for the heaven-class cultivation technique. Similarly, there were also some smart experts who knew that the heaven-class cultivation technique was not as simple as it seemed. However, the heaven-class cultivation technique would be more valuable than that. As the sects entered, their senior and junior brothers passed on the information they had gathered. In a forest, four figures were having a discussion. Seventh brother, how is it? The other three asked. They were the 4, 5, 6, and 7 swordsmen of the Day sect. They had arrived at the demonic wind mountain range from the underground cave of the Black Dragon Pool. When the 4 of them arrived, there were already 20,000 practitioners in the demonic wind mountain range. Therefore, the 4 of them soon found other practitioners and inquired. The 7 swordsmen looked at the 3 and frowned. We have news, but what? The 3 of them were puzzled. I know where Martial Uncle Yanchuan is, but it might not be peaceful there. The 7 swordsmen said in a strange tone. Oh, more and more practitioners are entering the demonic wind mountain range. Strange things are happening one after another. Don't you know? There are several grand demons living in the demonic wind mountain range. That's right. Grand demons are all emptiness realm demonic beasts. They are extremely powerful. This is also the reason why many practitioners don't dare to enter the demonic wind mountain range. The first news is that these grand demons have all disappeared. There are traces of battle in their nests. It's a mess. The 7 swordsmen said in a strange tone. Emptiness realm grand demons have all disappeared? Were they killed? I'm not sure, but they should be dead. Otherwise, the demonic beasts in the demonic wind mountain range wouldn't be running away in fear. The 7 swordsmen guessed. Okay, continue. The second news is that Guyu Holy Sun's team is getting bigger. There are 8,000 of them searching the demonic wind mountain range for him. The 7 swordsmen said in a strange tone. 8,000? Searching for him? So many? How? The 3 of them were surprised. It's mainly because of the life art. I don't know what happened to them, but they still sent half demonic wind mountain range for Guyu Holy Sun. And life realm mountain range for Guyu Holy Sun. So many people. What are you looking for? Are you crazy? The 4 swordsmen asked in surprise. Next up is our flashy martial uncle. The 7 swordsmen said with a strange expression. Oh, I heard that martial uncle and his 3,000 imperial brocade guards have been escorting them all the way here. The 7 swordsmen said with a strange look on their faces. 500 chi state? Escort. Everyone was surprised. That's right. Guyu Holy Sun has gathered 8,000 people. Most of them are at the essence state. Those who are at the chi state and above may not be as many as martial uncle. Moreover, I heard that this team is still increasing. The 7 swordsmen said with a strange expression. Everyone was at a loss. Back then, Yanchuan had said that it would be easy to find him, and that he would have a spectacular life. The 4 of them didn't believe him at first, but now it seemed that the largest group in the Demon Wind Mountain range was Yanchuan. What should we do? Are you going to look for martial uncle? 6 swordsmen asked curiously. Of course we're going to find martial uncle. Martial uncle's side must be very interesting. The 5 swordsmen's eyes immediately lit up. Then what are we waiting for? Yes, 7 swordsmen, where is martial uncle? Follow me. At the peak of a mountain in the Demon Wind Mountain range. Chapter 278. Guyu Holy Sun stood at the top of the mountain with a group of experts, looking down at the devilish wind mountains under the clouds. When Ruo Wei Qin and the others stood behind him, several subordinates stood respectfully in front of Guyu. Holy Sun, this is the news we received, the subordinates said respectfully. Guyu Holy Sun took a deep breath and squinted his eyes. Yanchuan. Not only Guyu Holy Sun, but the other experts were also shocked. Mr. Monroe, what do you think? Guyu Holy Sun asked calmly. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly. Holy Sun, you used fame, power, grace, and affection to invite everyone to help you. Yanchuan used benefits that you can see but can't touch to tempt you. And he might be doing this to protect himself. Self-protection? Self-protection? 600 experts above the Qi realm to protect him when he's in the Essence realm? This Yanchuan is really good. Guyu said with a complicated expression. Holy Sun, I think this Yanchuan is despicable. Wei Qin, the leader of the Life League, said in a low voice. Oh, Guyu said calmly. When Ruo raised her eyebrows slightly, Holy Sun humbled himself and invited him to enter the devilish wind mountains, but he refused again and again. If he really didn't want to enter the devilish wind mountains as he said, it would have been fine. But he followed us in and didn't give the Holy Sun any face. Despicable. Also, he used the news about the Holy Sun's heaven-level technique to recruit free bodyguards. Despicable. Wei Qin said coldly. Gu Yu frowned slightly. Haha, Immortal Wei Qin, you're wrong. Holy Sun released the news about the heaven-level technique to convince everyone. Yin Chuan confirmed it to help the Holy Sun. What's there to be angry about? Mr. Monroe immediately laughed. Huh. Wei Qin frowned and looked at Mr. Monroe. Gu Yu Holy Sun took a deep breath and said, if he wants to come in, let him come in. Forget it. Yes. Wei Chan nodded and didn't say anything else. Is there any news about Yao Tianshang? Gu Yu Holy Sun asked solemnly. No, but it seems like Yao Tianshang is not going to let this go. He might ruin the Holy Sun's plan. Mr. Monroe frowned. Spoil my plans? Humph, he's not worthy. That group of adventurers opened the ancient seal and all of them were cursed. They would die as soon as they stepped out of the Demon Wind mountain range. Most of them died and only brought back some information. There are still 2 people who are definitely somewhere in the Demon Wind mountain range. Once we find them, we'll know where the ancient seal is. Gu Yu Holy Sun said in a deep voice. Holy Sun, don't worry. The Life League will definitely find them. Wei Qin said in a deep voice. Spiritual Master Wei Qin, thank you for your hard work. After this battle, I will reward you on behalf of the Dazhao Holy Land. Gu Yu Holy Sun said calmly. Thank you, Holy Sun. I'll go and ask my disciples to hurry up. Wei Qin smiled. Okay. Gu Yu Holy Sun nodded. Wei Qin flew into the valley below. Gu Yu Holy Sun narrowed his eyes and smiled coldly as he watched Wei Qin fly down the mountain. Below in a big tent, there were more than 20 people standing in front of Wei Qin. All 20 of you are in the Qi state. I have a mission for you. Wei Qin said in a deep voice. Please give us your orders, League Master. Assassinate Yin Chuan. 20 Qi state cultivators are enough. Wei Qin said in a deep voice. Senior brother, assassinate Yin Chuan? Why, now? Someone at the side asked in surprise. He's Yen Tao's vile spawn, and he'll seek revenge on us sooner or later. Judging from this trip to the Demon Wind mountain range, this little bastard is quite capable, so we must eliminate him before he grows up. Otherwise, there'll be great trouble sooner or later, said Wei Chan in a low voice. Yes. The person beside him nodded. Don't worry, Alliance Master. Yin Chuan is just an elite state cultivator. 20 of us are more than enough to kill him, let alone assassinate him. The 20 Qi state cultivators said confidently. Go. Wei Qin nodded. Swish. 20 Qi Jing warriors quickly rushed out of the tent. Senior brother, aren't you making a mountain out of a molehill? 20 Qi Jing warriors against 1 Essence Jing warrior? Perhaps. Wei Qin also felt that he was being overly sensitive. At the mouth of a vast lake in the Demon Wind mountain range, on a small hill, Yin Chuan led Zhu Jiansheng and the others to look at the interior of the lake. Boom! 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 Above the lake, the water was churning non-stop. Blood flowed from the bottom of the lake and crocodile carcasses floated to the surface. The crocodiles in this lake have also suffered. I have seen your army, it is like an army of locusts. Wherever they go, not even a blade of grass will survive. Many monsters have suffered from this unexpected disaster. Zhu Jiansheng laughed. Hu Guang and the others can kill monsters on land, they must be able to do the same in the sea. Otherwise, sooner or later they will be at a disadvantage. It is better to train them now. Yin Chuan laughed. But they have just reached the essence state not long ago. They should not be used to breathing underwater through their pores. You are too fast. Fast? They are already in the essence state, do they still need people to teach them? They must know everything. Yin Chuan shook his head. But Zhu Jiansheng and the others were still at a loss. But no more buts. Don't eat the crocodile feast tonight. Yin Chuan laughed. Don't pretend I didn't say anything. Zhu Jiansheng immediately stopped talking. Ha 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 ha. The 3 swordsmen and the others laughed. Not far away, the cultivators who were standing on the mountains were in a dilemma. Yinchuan's journey was like a training ground. They wanted to leave now, but they were not willing to. Look, there were already hundreds of Qi realm cultivators guarding the lake. If they left, wouldn't they give up in vain? It was like waiting in line. When you are halfway through the line, you know that there is a long line in front of you, but you are unwilling to give up because there is a long line behind you. The cultivators were from different sects, so they restricted each other. For a time they were strangely harmonious. They only hoped that Yanchuan would be on his way soon. Whoosh! Whoosh! For figures came from afar. They slowly floated up and looked around the lake. They were the 4, 5, 6, and 7 swordsmen. The 4 of them looked around with a surprised expression. 800? There are at least 800 Qi realm cultivators. Martial uncle is too troublesome. The 7 swordsmen were surprised. Yeah, there are 800 of them. It is easier to invite a god than to send them away. These people have been protecting martial uncle all this time. If they don't get what they want, they will end up like this. The 6 swordsmen said with a strange expression. 6, don't talk nonsense. Remember our mission. Master told us to protect martial uncle. The 4 swordsmen said in a deep voice. Protect? Are you kidding me? Does he want us to protect him? 800 Qi realm cultivators, they would be able to rampage wherever they went. Each of them can drown us with their spit. The 6 swordsmen said with a strange expression. Everyone. Boss, they saw us. Let's go. The 4 swordsmen said. Okay. Everyone nodded. Then they all flew towards Yanchuan. Chapter 279. Xiao. The 4, 5, 6, and 7 swordsmen landed beside Yanchuan. Martial uncle, big brother. The 4 swordsmen greeted. When the 4 arrived, the eyes of the 800 Qi Jing practitioners lit up. Did someone come to find Yanchuan? This was different from before. It's good that you're here. Yanchuan said calmly. Have you found the place? Don't tell me you don't remember the way back? The 3 swordsmen laughed. Of course we know. Just follow us. The 4 swordsmen laughed. As soon as the 4 swordsmen finished speaking, all the sounds of birds, beasts, insects, and fish disappeared. The 800 Qi Jing practitioners who were whispering to each other also became quiet. Everyone's spirits were suddenly shaken. The place? Where? The white-clothed lady with the blue phoenix pulling the carriage? Yanchuan asked the 4 of them to find the place? We guessed right. If we follow Yanchuan, we will definitely find the Tian level skill book. We didn't wait in vain. The surrounding practitioners started to discuss again. At the same time, their eyes were filled with hope. The 4 swordsmen were surprised by the sudden change in the environment. What? Did I say something wrong? The 4 swordsmen were confused. You didn't say anything wrong. Yanchuan laughed. Pung. Above the lake, a pillar of water shot out. A 10-meter-long azure crocodile soared into the sky. However, a spear pierced through its abdomen. The one who came out of the water after that was the slightly injured Huguang. Pung! The crocodile was thrown to the shore. Huguang was the first to jump onto the shore. Pung! 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 A large number of crocodiles jumped out of the water. The genie army brought their trophies and rushed out. In the blink of an eye, there were 500 crocodile corpses on the shore. King, the mission is complete. Huguang said excitedly. Set up camp and eat. Yanchuan nodded. Yes. The 3,000 embroidered uniform army soldiers quickly got busy. At this moment, the faces of the surrounding 800 cultivators stiffened. Stop to eat and rest again? Don't you know where the woman in white is? Go quickly. What would happen if she left? Although the Xiuzhe were anxious, there was nothing they could do. After all, Yanchuan still needed to personally ask for the heaven-grade cultivation method. He could only wait. After setting up camp and cooking delicious food, Yanchuan started to eat in the headquarters tent. Accompanying them were Huguang, Lu Jin, Zhu Jiansheng, and the 7 swordsmen. Uncle, there are already more than 800 Qijing warriors. Aren't you worried at all? 6 swordsmen asked curiously. What are you worried about? Yanchuan smiled. You're worried that they'll harm you. 6 swordsmen was confused. Will it? Why not? The 6 swordsmen were puzzled. Because they are not a single entity, I am safer. Yin Chuan laughed. Mutual restraint? The 3 swordsmen asked curiously. Yes. Moreover, if there is any danger, these 800 Qijing warriors will come to your aid. Hu Guang also laughed. Ah, Xiao. Just as everyone was talking, a stone suddenly shot into the tent. Dong! The stone hit Yin Chuan's table. Xing! Xing! The group of swordsmen pulled out their swords and looked at the stone in surprise. Yin Chuan looked at the stone and sneered. Someone is trying to assassinate me? Who? Hu Guang immediately stood up. Chapter 280. Yin Chuan nodded. Hu Guang acted as if nothing had happened and walked out of the tent with the wine. Outside the tent, there were many soldiers eating crocodiles. Brothers, the king asked me to give you a toast. Now that we are outside, there is no wine, so we will use meat as a substitute. Haha. Hu Guang laughed. Sir. Everyone stood up. Hu Guang held the wine cup in one hand and made a strange gesture with the other. The gesture was normal, but all the soldiers' pupils shrank. Long live the king. All the soldiers raised the meat and congratulated. While eating the meat, the soldiers chatted and divided into different groups. Inside the tent. Assassination? Martial uncle, how did you know? Zhu Jiansheng was surprised. This is a reminder from one of the 800 practitioners. Yin Chuan smiled as he looked at the pebbles on the table. Ah, who? Zhu Jiansheng was curious. Who? How would I know? They helped me find out. We just need to be more careful. Yin Chuan laughed. Assassination? What should we do? The 3 swordsmen were worried. What are you worried about? Hu Guang is already there. Don't worry about them, let's continue eating. Yin Chuan laughed. Everyone was confused. Martial uncle is too carefree. Even if someone tries to assassinate him, he won't care? While everyone was eating, Hu Guang raised his cup and walked around the 3,000 soldiers. Some of the soldiers disappeared without them noticing. On a hill not far from the main tent, 20 Qijing assassins sent by Wei Chan were all staring at the main tent. Boss, I saw it. Yin Chuan is in the tent. One of them said coldly. There are 800 Qijing cultivators outside. There are 8 Day-6 Qijing cultivators in the tent. The others are not a problem. The leader said. 8 Day-6 Qijing cultivators are not a problem. The main problem is that there are 800 Qijing cultivators outside. They are all waiting for Yin Chuan to lead the way. If we assassinate him, won't they be angry? Angry? Whatever, we must complete the mission given by the alliance leader. We must rush into the tent. You 8 block the 8 Day-6 Qijing cultivators. The 12 of us will attack at the same time and kill Yin Chuan. Once Yin Chuan is dead, we will retreat. It will be too late to save the 800 cultivators. The leader said. Boss, we will escape after killing Yin Chuan. No one will be able to stop us. Well, since it's confirmed, let's begin immediately. I'll count to 3, and we'll move out together. Yes. Whoosh. 20 black figures instantly shot towards the central tent like 20 sharp arrows. They were so fast that the countless cultivators in the surroundings could not react in time. The 20 assassins arrived in front of the tent and were about to enter. Bang! Suddenly 500 rays of light shot towards them. 500 shooting sun arrows were aimed at the 20 assassins. Ha! The 20 assassins' faces changed. Bang! The assassins spat out their chi walls one after another, and a powerful aura spread out. Boom! 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 The shooting sun arrows were blocked by the air wall, but the power of the 500 shooting sun arrows was enormous. When they hit the air wall, the speed of the assassins suddenly slowed. Some of the assassins were even knocked back by the force of the shooting sun arrows. Not good. The assassin leader's face changed. Shoot! Bang! Chapter 281. With a clear target, the second volley of 2,000 shooting sun arrows exploded out. 2,000 streams of light, like a meteor shower, fiercely crashed into the air wall of the 20 assassins. Rumble! It was equivalent to a Qi-Jing realm cultivator facing 100 shooting sun arrows. Although the power of a Qi-Jing realm cultivator was not as strong as a Qi-Jing realm cultivator, there were many of them. With the combined power of 100 shooting sun arrows, the power of the shooting sun arrows was comparable to a Qi-Jing realm cultivator. The air wall around the 20 assassins shook violently, almost collapsing completely. We've been discovered. Not good. Someone cried out. Let's go. You want to leave? Shoot. Huguang shouted again. Pung. This time there were even more arrows. 3,000 arrows burst out almost at the same time. There were even more arrows and they were even more ferocious than before. 3,000 rays of golden light shot out, bringing with them endless despair. They closed in on the 20 assassins. Originally they looked down on the essence realm, but now boom. Ah! The air wall exploded from the impact, and the remaining force of the rain of arrows unscrupulously struck the crowd of cultivators. Bang! Bang! The air wall exploded, and all the Xiozhou were heavily injured. Their long swords struck the rain of arrows, but there were too many arrows. How could he block all 3,000 arrows at once? Ah! Ah! The assassins were hit by the arrows and fell to the ground. Of the 20 assassins, 5 were dead, and the remaining 15 were covered in arrows. They were all at a loss as they looked at the group of elite realm cultivators in disbelief. Impossible, impossible, the leader said in disbelief. The 20 of them were assassins, yet they were all wiped out in the blink of an eye? I'm in the Qi realm, but they're in the Qi realm. Those guys are only in the essence realm. At this time no one would sympathize with them. The 800 Qi-Jing cultivators who had regained their senses were also glaring at the assassins. It was already merciful that they didn't teach them a lesson. Why would they pity them? At the same time, the 800 Qi realm cultivators were also looking at Huguang and the others in surprise. These days, the genie army had only killed 2 or 3 Qi realm beasts, so the cultivators didn't think much of it. At this moment, he finally realized the true power of the Imperial Secret Army. 20 Qi state warriors? Take him down in an instant? Pierce his shoulder blades and tie him up. Huguang shouted. Yes, the soldiers replied. In the blink of an eye, 15 Qi-Jing cultivators were tied up and brought to the main tent. In the central tent, Yin Chuan was still drinking and eating. Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen looked at the group of Qi-Jing warriors kneeling on the ground in confusion. Boss, try slapping me. The 3 swordsmen felt like he was dreaming. Slap. The great swordsman slapped the 3rd swordsman's face. Ouch, you really hit me. The 3 swordsmen's face immediately swelled up. Looking at his palm, the great swordsman said in a deep voice, "It hurts quite a bit. Looks like it's not a dream." "Boss, I'll fight you to the death," the 3 swordsmen said with grief and indignation. Zhu Jiansheng looked at Huguang in surprise. They are from the Life League. They are all in the Qi state. Are these Qi-Jing warriors still the same group of mortals that he met a year ago? With 5 dead, the 15 Qi-Jing warriors kneeled in front of Yin Chuan like prisoners. "Yin Chuan, you better let me go now. Otherwise the Life League will kill you like how we killed your father." One of the Qi-Jing assassins said viciously. "What did you say?" Yin Chuan put down a piece of meat and said coldly, "I said like how we killed your father." The assassin said again. "Shoo!" A long spear came from behind and pierced through his heart. It was Huguang who killed him with a single spear strike. The 14 assassins who were planning to scare Yin Chuan suddenly changed their expressions. These people are crazy. Chapter 282. After one of the assassins was killed by Huguang, the rest of the assassins finally understood their predicament. This group of people did not care about their background. If they were dissatisfied, they would kill them. Tell me, what is the Life Alliance searching for in the Demon Wind Mountain range? Yin Chuan asked calmly. The assassins gritted their teeth and refused to speak. You still refuse to speak? Yin Chuan sneered. Humph, we'll die if we speak and we'll die if we don't. The winner takes all. If you want to kill us, just kill us. An assassin said stubbornly. Humph. The assassin snorted. Did I say I'm going to kill you? Yin Chuan asked. Everyone looked at Yin Chuan. Lu Jin, take them away and interrogate them in batches. Keep those who answer truthfully. Kill those who lie. Yinchuan said. Yes. Lu Jin replied. Are you serious? You won't kill us if we tell you the truth? An assassin suddenly asked hopefully. Apparently, the assassins were no longer so stubborn. Take them away. Lu Jin waved her hand. The assassins were taken out of the tent. Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen looked at this scene blankly. Martial uncle, you're amazing. The 3 swordsmen said in admiration. Don't spoil their mood during the meal. Continue eating. Yinchuan said with a smile. Okay. Yinchuan continued eating. When he was done, he drank a cup of tea. 2 hours had passed. Lu Jin entered the tent again. King, they've confessed. These people are really afraid of death. They all confessed. Moreover, their testimonies are the same. It should be true. Lu Jin said with a smile. Oh, tell me about it. They were sent by Wei Chan, the leader of the Life League. He felt threatened by King and wanted to take action in advance. Lu Jin said in a deep voice. Feel threatened? Yinchuan narrowed his eyes. That's right. This Wei Qing clearly wants to kill His Majesty. Lu Jin said in a low voice. Got it. Go on. Yinchuan took a sip of tea. Guyu Holy Sun's 8,000 men are actually searching for 2 people in the Devilish Wind Mountain Range. Lu Jin said. Oh. These are the portraits we found on one of the assassins. Lu Jin handed over 2 portraits. In the portrait, there were 2 ordinary-looking men. Both of them had sideburns and looked very ordinary. Did you find out why you're looking for these 2? Yinchuan asked curiously. They don't know either. Lu Jin shook her head. At this time, Zhu Jiansheng and the others also looked at the portrait. 6th Martial Uncle? Zhu Jiansheng's expression changed. Do you know him? Yinchuan asked doubtfully. Senior brother, are you saying that this is 6th Martial Uncle? How is that possible? 6th Martial Uncle is so handsome. He doesn't have a beard. The 3 swordsmen also said in disbelief. Zhu Jiansheng's eyes were filled with uncertainty. After thinking for a while, he looked at Yinchuan and said, I'm sure that one of the portraits is 6th Martial Uncle because I saw him with my own eyes not long ago. As for the other one, if I'm not wrong, it should be 3rd Martial Uncle. Ah, the 7 swordsmen were confused. Go on. Yinchuan said in a low voice. Not long after the 3,000 men of Riqian Peak underwent the tribulation at the same time, an alarm bell rang in the sect. Do you still remember? Zhu Jiansheng said in a low voice. That's right. At that time, the sect leader was handing over my father's relics to me. Before I could open it, the bell rang and the sect leader left. He came back to see me the next day and said that 2 first-generation disciples went to Demon Wind Mountain Range together. One died and the other returned with injuries. Yinchuan nodded. The one who died was 6th Martial Uncle. At that time I heard the bell and went over. I saw it with my own eyes. 6th Martial Uncle looked like this in the portrait. They disguised themselves so that no one could recognize them. But I've seen 6th Martial Uncle dressed like this before. Zhu Jiansheng said in a low voice. Chapter 283. Is it really 6th Martial Uncle? The 3 swordsmen asked in surprise. 6th Martial Uncle died not long after he came back. Before he died, he talked with the sect leader for a while. The sect leader dismissed everyone, but he let us see him one last time before he died. At that time, 6th Martial Uncle died extremely miserably, his entire body releasing bloody blisters, more and more of them popping out, as if there was a flame burning him to death. Sect master said that it was a curse. Zhu Jiansheng's expression became ugly. Ah, 6th Martial Uncle is really dead? The 3 swordsmen asked in surprise. But the sect leader said that one of them died and the other came back injured. Yinchuan said in a low voice. No, only 6th Uncle Master and 3rd Uncle Master are still in Demon Wind Mountain Range, but the sect master has instructed us to tell the same story to the public. We have to say that the 2 of them have returned together, and that one is dead and the other is injured. Ah, Guyu Holy Sun and the others are still looking for 3rd Martial Uncle? Everyone's face fell. King, there's another piece of news. The person in the painting is in their encirclement. Someone has found the person in the painting, but he's good at hiding. so they couldn't find him immediately. But the place is surrounded by experts, so it's only a matter of time before they find him. Lu Jin said in a low voice. Then third martial uncle is in danger? Everyone's face changed. Martial uncle, what should we do now? Zhu Jiansheng looked at Yan Chuan anxiously. Yan Chuan frowned and thought for a while. Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen looked at Yan Chuan expectantly. After a while, Yan Chuan said with determination in his eyes, Hu Guang, tell the soldiers to eat and rest for 4 hours. We'll set off in 4 hours. Yes, Hu Guang answered. Thank you, martial uncle. The 8 people said gratefully. Since he joined the Day sect, I won't ignore his safety. The same goes for all of you. We'll set off in 4 hours. Adjust yourselves well. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. Yes, the 8 of them replied. 4 hours later, Yan Chuan's army escorted 14 assassins and quickly advanced through the forest. The 800 Qi realm warriors were surprised when they saw the army speed up. However, they were happy that Yan Chuan had finally learned his lesson. With 14 assassins leading the way, the journey was rather smooth. The news of the assassins' capture had also reached Guyu Holy Sun 4 hours ago. On the same mountain peak, several subordinates stood respectfully in front of Guyu Holy Sun. He sat on a throne and listened to his subordinates report. 20 Qi state cultivators, they should be from the Life League. The subordinates said respectfully. People from the Life League? So it was Wei Qin who gave the order to assassinate Yan Chuan? 20 Qi realm cultivators trying to kill an elite realm cultivator. Yet they were all wiped out? Ha, the Life League is indeed full of trash. One of Guyu Holy Sun's subordinates said disdainfully. The Holy Sun is just using Wei Qin. Why do you care? Mr. Monroe said with a smile. You may leave. Guyu Holy Sun said calmly. Yes. The messenger left immediately. However, as soon as the messenger left, another person ran over. Holy Sun, I found him. I found him. The messenger said excitedly. Phew. Holy Sun stood up immediately. Holy Sun, I found the person in the portrait. The leader of the Life League, Wei Qin, is leading his men to. The messenger said excitedly. Lead the way. Guyu Holy Sun said immediately. Yes. Yan Chuan's army hurried along the way. In just one day they entered Guyu Holy Sun's search area. Zhu Jiansheng captured an elite realm cultivator. My king, that person confessed. They found the demon ox's nest in the north. After the demon ox disappeared, no one knew where it went. However, not long ago someone found the leader and the third uncle. Now, almost all the masters that Guyu Holy Sun brought are gathered there. All the masters above the Qi realm have gone there, and the elite realm masters are still rushing there. Lu Jin said respectfully. The demon ox's nest? Let's go quickly. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. Yes. Nearly 3,000 genie soldiers and more than 800 Qi realm masters rushed towards the demon ox's nest. The demon ox's nest. It was a huge valley. There used to be a large number of palaces, but now it was a pile of ruins. Several mountains around it had collapsed, indicating that there used to be a fierce battle here. Guyu Holy Sun stood on a high platform, surrounded by many of his subordinates. Mr. Monroe stood behind Guyu Holy Sun. More and more masters gathered around the valley, but most of them were from the Life League. At the bottom of the valley, 2 figures were supporting each other. The leader of Day sect, Feng Tairan. The other was Zhu Jiansheng's third uncle. However, the beard on his face had disappeared. Feng Tairan and third uncle's faces were black. It was obvious that they had been poisoned. Feng Tairan's mouth was bleeding profusely. He looked coldly at the 5 figures in front of Guyu Holy Sun. The leader of the 5 figures was the leader of the Life League, Wei Qian. Wei Qian reported to Guyu Holy Sun with an ugly expression. Holy Sun, when we heard the news, we were afraid that the 2 of them would run away. We didn't have time to report it, so we came here first. Wei Qian said with an ugly expression. Is that so? Guyu Holy Sun said in a low voice. It's true. I wouldn't dare to lie to the Holy Sun. It was an emergency. Wei Qian defended himself again. Mr. Monroe said in a low voice, emergency? The 5 of you came here together? There were only 2 of them. Did the 5 of you need to come together? Why didn't you leave someone to report to the Holy Sun first? If we didn't get the news, we would still be in the dark. When Rua, don't slander us. It was an emergency. We only wanted to prevent the two of them from running away. What other thoughts did we have? Along the way, the Life League sent half of our men to help the Holy Sun. The 5 of us, the immortal state warriors of the Life League, were all sent out. Wei Qian scolded. That's enough. Guyu Holy Sun said in a low voice. Guyu Holy Sun said. Everyone stopped talking. Guyu ignored them and looked at the 2 people who were supporting each other in the valley. Feng Tairan and Duan Sanshu of the Day Sect? Guyu Holy Sun said lightly. Greetings, Guyu Holy Sun. The 2 of them said in despair. Are you poisoned? Guyu Holy Sun said lightly. Black venom of the Life League. Duan Sanshu looked at Wei Qian with hatred. I don't care what kind of poison you are poisoned with. Do you know what I want? Guyu Holy Sun looked down at the 2 of them. Holy Sun, if you want to go to that place again, I can give you the map. However, Guyu Holy Sun, please let us go. Duan Sanshu begged. You have no right to negotiate with me. Tell me, where is the seal? Guyu Holy Sun said in a low voice. Chapter 284. Holy Sun, if you want to go to that place again, I can give you the map. However, Guyu Holy Sun, please let us go. Duan Sanshu pleaded. You are not qualified to negotiate with me. Tell me, where is the seal? Guyu Holy Sun asked in a deep voice. Ha 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 ha. Cough cough. Ha 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 ha. Feng Tairan laughed bitterly as he coughed up blood. Terms? Ha ha ha, Guyu Holy Sun. Do you know what happened to the nest of the demonic bull great demon? Feng Tairan sneered. Guyu Holy Sun looked at Feng Tairan in confusion. The demonic bull great demon is an emptiness realm great demon. It suddenly disappeared because it was subdued a month ago. Not only the demonic bull great demon, all the emptiness realm great demons in the demonic wind mountain range disappeared because they were subdued. Feng Tairan sneered. Subdued. The surrounding cultivators were surprised. Great demons were emptiness realm great demons. Who could subdue them? Not just one but a group. The demonic beasts in the demonic wind mountain range disappeared one after another. Were they subdued? Oh, subdued? Who? Guyu Holy Sun asked indifferently. Cough cough. Haha. It's your enemy Yao Tianshang. Feng Tairan sneered weakly. Yao Tianshang. Guyu Holy Sun's pupils shrank. You must have found out why the demonic beasts in the demonic wind mountain range fled. It's because Duan Sanshu and his team broke a seal. The aura emitted from the seal frightened the demonic beasts. The aura that frightened the demonic beasts was an aura that could destroy the world. Humans didn't feel anything, but the demonic beasts felt endless death. Therefore they fled. Feng Tairan said coldly as he coughed up blood. That aura only appeared for an instant, but it struck deep into the souls of the thousands of demonic beasts. The thousands of demonic beasts don't know where it came from, but they have a rough idea of where it came from. Yao Tianshang has subdued a group of great demons. Based on their descriptions, we should be able to find the location of the seal very quickly. Feng Tairan said coldly. Yao Tianshang's team is also growing stronger. Furthermore, they are all emptiness realm experts. The gap between the 2 of you is gradually narrowing. Yao Tianshang should be able to find the seal very soon. We'll find it soon. Feng Tairan said solemnly. Guyu Holy Sun narrowed his eyes. We're not talking about conditions. We just want a way out. If you don't even give us a way out, why should we tell you where we are? Torture us? Extorting a confession through torture? Haha, bring it on. Duan Sanshu and I are not afraid of this. The longer we wait, the higher the chances of Yao Tianshang obtaining the treasures within the seal. Feng Tairan said as he coughed up blood. Holy Sun, this old man is very stubborn. Let me pry open his mouth. Wei Chan said in a low voice. Holy Sun, let me do it. My soul-tearing torture can make him suffer so much that he'll wish he was dead. Holy Sun, let me do it. I have experience in this area. The subordinates all asked for permission. Mr. Monroe frowned slightly. He took a step forward and said, Holy Sun, I think we should forget about it. The Day Sect cannot run away. Feng Tairan doesn't dare to tell you the location of the fake seal. Why don't you let them go after they tell you the location? Gu Yu Holy Sun's face darkened as he looked at Mr. Monroe. Chapter 285. Holy Sun, this is a win-win situation. Mr. Monroe said again. I don't like being threatened. Gu Yu Holy Sun said in a low voice. Gu Yu Holy Sun's words left Mr. Monroe speechless. He smiled bitterly, nodded, and left. Here, Gu Yu Holy Sun was the most powerful. No one dared to oppose him regardless of strength or status. Wei Qing immediately stepped forward and said, Holy Sun, among my 4 junior brothers, Wei Jia and Wei Yi cultivate the Xianming Duo Qi, which can corrode one's soul. Once one is contaminated by the Xianming Duo Qi, one will be in agony. No one can withstand this torture. Let them come. Among the 4 people behind Wei Qin, 2 green-faced men walked out respectfully. Looking at the 2 of them, Gu Yu Holy Sun nodded lightly. Yan Chuan's army traveled across mountains and rivers, quickly heading towards the nest of the demon bull Great Demon. In the distance, they saw a large number of cultivators gathered on a mountain peak, looking at a large canyon. Ah! Ah! In the distant canyon, 2 heart-wrenching screams could be heard. It's the sect master's voice. Zhu Jiansheng's expression changed. Third martial uncle, it's third martial uncle's voice. The 3 swordsmen's expression changed. Hurry, hurry. Yan Chuan urged again. Rumble. The group of cultivators quickly rushed towards the canyon not far away. In the canyon, Gu Yu Holy Sun led everyone to look at the canyon below. Below, Wei Jia and Wei Yi spat out waves of green qi from their palms, enveloping the black-faced Feng Tairan and Duan Sanshu. As the green qi enveloped the 2 of them, a layer of frost formed on their bodies, causing them to tremble continuously. Speak quickly. Wei Jia said coldly. Ah! Ha ha ah! The 2 of them cried out in pain and laughed, refusing to speak. Speak quickly. Wei Yi also Jiaohu said. The surrounding experts all frowned as they looked at the 2 of them. The 2 of them were too stubborn. He was already in such a miserable state, but he still refused to say anything. Gu Yu Holy Sun's face darkened. If you still don't speak, I'll freeze and shatter your divine soul. Wei Jia said coldly. However, Duan Sanshu gritted his teeth. Even though he was screaming miserably, he continued to look coldly at Wei Jia, refusing to say anything. You're courting death. Wei Jia's face turned cold, and his palms suddenly emitted bursts of purple light, as if they were about to freeze and shatter Duan Sanshu's spirit soul. Stop! Boom 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 boom. In an instant 100 sword lights shot out, heading straight for Wei Jia and Wei Yi. While the 2 of them were distracted, a large amount of sword light had already arrived. The 2 of them snorted coldly and struck out with their palms. Rumble! The 100 sword lights were shattered with a loud bang. Zhu Jiansheng and the 7 swordsmen attacked at the same time, but they were easily neutralized by the 2. However, this was already enough. At least the 2 of them could no longer destroy Feng Tairan and Duan Sanshu. Bang!